All the meeting. I'm gonna wait for noon.
Yes.
Should be almost there. I don't know. Yeah, I can read.
Everything's over now, I think.
You good?
I'll call the meeting to order at 12 p.m. And they'll have, do we have any additions or subtraction, deletions to the agenda? Dawn?
Oh, we don't need to do that. I'd like to add priorities document from Ministry of Municipal Affairs. It'll just be a quick accept, basically, so that would be 13.1. If council agrees, and then I do have a request. It's up to you if you want to accept this one. It's from Michelle Wright through Travel Lakeland regarding posting our banner at the Edmonton Boat Show, and I wanted to bring it because it's so related to kind of a previous motion. So if you want to consider that as 13.2. And then do you add your report? Or do you want to add that?
I can,
I think that's what I have.
Dawn, can I just ask you one thing? If I may? So when you say Michelle Wright, in the capacity of, is it chamber or what agency is
It
it?
came from Travel Lakeland.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
sure.
So it's slightly different.
Yeah, no, I think it's
So
good. I think
Yeah,
it's good.
so I was, debating how to add it. And that should be it for me.
Well, I had sent out an email and it's just for council's discussion if you want to add it to this one. It was just my report. And Carly did print it out and I emailed it out, but we could, I was late. I had a late email. But we can add it to the next one as well. So
We'll
up to you
just
guys.
put it to 10.2.
If you're comfortable with that, like, as long as everybody got it. I felt that.
Any other additions?
So
Marianne?
I would like to, and just with whatever we decide. So I might be remiss, between me and Amy, we were supposed to bring forward the trail naming contest. The Heritage Board has had a meeting and they wondered what's happening. So I don't know if you want that in your report or a separate item or.
I have it written down for the agenda for next meeting.
Is it for the next one?
Yeah, we can either add it today or to the next meeting, but that's not till March 31st. So we can add it today if you'd like it, the results.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, because they only meet quarterly, so it
Yeah.
might just,
I don't hate to miss their meeting, yeah.
okay, thank you. And then I would, if it's okay with all of, with everyone in the room, I think maybe we're at the point where we would want an update on 51st Street and an update and a plan.
For the water line or the gas or both?
Yeah.
An update on 51st
Yeah.
Street? Sure.
Sure. And those are my two additions, but then I would ask with council's approval to take what is in 12.1, both B and D, and move them to the category that is correspondence with action. As I believe there's more to add to just rather than submitting them for filing for information. So B is the village of Wasetna, and it could impact the Ukrainian twinning, and D is the Alberta Municipal Affairs, the letter, the JUPA letter.
So where would you like them moved? To 11?
Yeah, would that be okay with everyone or?
1.3 and 4.
I had for 51st Street. So it's Marianne leading to it.
All right, I'll have a motion to accept the additions to the agenda.
Mel, to make a motion to accept the agenda with the additions.
All in favor? Opposed and carried. And I will do the land acknowledgement. The town of Smoky Lake respectfully acknowledges that we are situated on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional lands of First Nations and Métis people. All right. And I will move to the adoption of previous minutes and action lists. Evelyn?
I'll make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake adopt the February 24th, 2025 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Marianne?
So I probably won't support that motion at this time because I have to, I would like to bring forward a recommendation.
Okay, well, it's up for discussion.
Well, and my recommendation has a motion, so. I'd rather, would you make it friendly? Would you withdraw it?
As long as it's friendly. Or would you like me to just withdraw?
I would.
Okay.
No, I don't know if we have to withdraw, right?
Well, no, well, we can, but I would like to know more information before, like, I'm sure you want to know why before we withdraw.
Sure. So, there's, sorry, but, it's not about, so on page 30 of 185, and it's, probably our MGA and our procedural bylaw. It's motion number 204. I didn't recall making that motion, and we can't really make motions in closed session, so I would want to have that stricken or removed from the minutes.
It was made at the last meeting. I think we came out of closed to make the motion to extend the meeting and went right back into closed.
So I would still like to move to have it withdrawn.
We can't because it was a motion made at the last council meeting. We can verify it for you and review the recording, but I can tell you Carly re-listens to the meetings afterwards, but I don't know if others recall that or we realized at the last minute that it was time to extend the meeting, so we came out of closed, made the motion, and maybe I can't guarantee you made it, but we went back in. But we have to extend the meeting as per procedural bylaw. And it was a motion that was made, so we can't take it out because it actually happened.
Marianne?
Okay, so what you're saying then, thank you, Dawn.
Yeah.
And again, not to be combative or anything, but so what you're saying is we made a motion and we voted on it and it's carried.
Correct.
Okay.
But we can double check that for you. We can defer these minutes so we can verify for you.
Okay.
If you'd like.
Sure, but I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. The way the minutes are written now, the motion was made in closed session.
So we can correct the minutes to ensure that it clarifies that the motion was made out of closed, because we came out of closed. But it was a little mumbled where we,
Oh, so
Yeah,
you're
I
saying
think you're-
204 needs to be 205.
If
Like, they need to be-
if that's
okay,
what
yeah.
happened, because what you're saying is not, we can't make motions in
no,
closed
yes,
session,
no.
right? Mm-hmm.
So we can correct that part of the motion minutes, yes, we just can't take out a motion that was made.
It might
Yeah.
just be in the different, it might be opposite of what it was.
Yeah.
So if you,
So you're saying the recording shows we voted on it?
out of session, out of closed session, but the way I written it could have been a mistake.
So we can verify that. That's what I would recommend is defer the approval of minutes until we can verify the order of the motions.
Okay.
Would that work?
And I apologize, it was
No,
late
no.
last night, so I didn't want to send an email or anything, I just thought, well, I'll bring it up today.
No, that's
Sorry.
fine.
Okay.
You can confirm that.
Sure.
Good catch.
All right, so we'll have Evelyn amend to defer the minutes.
Okay, I will withdraw my previous motion and instead I'll make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake defer the adoption of the February 24th, 25 regular council meeting minutes until the end of the meeting. Is that
Till the next meeting.
until the next meeting? Okay.
All in favor? And opposed, so carried. And the February 24th regular council meeting action list. Marianne?
I would like to move to adopt the February 24th regular council meeting action list as presented.
All in favor? All opposed, so carried. And now we will move along to our delegation, which is the Smoky Lake County Community Learning Council. I want to say CLC. And welcome.
Thank you. I'm gonna put this at here for Crystal, so that she gets a set. Thank you. Good day. No, okay.
You already have chairs there, so
It's not gonna take me long. I made a few notes just so I wouldn't forget to say anything, but we're here today representing the Smoky Lake County Community Learning Council to say thank you. Mary Lou Doshanek, our esteemed vice chairperson, and myself, Melody Caven, as chairperson of the council, have brought you a lunch treat to say thank you for supporting the Smoky Lake County Community Learning Council, and to let you know that this year we are celebrating our 50th anniversary. So 50 years ago this fall, we had our very first meeting, and since then we have been bringing adult education to the citizens of the town and county of Smoky Lake. We're fully funded by the government of Alberta to bring foundational learning, ELL, and family literacy to all community members. We're not asking for anything today. We're just simply here to say thank you. Also, a quick reminder that we are still here. We are still in the community. We are still doing things. We're, like I said, offering foundational learning, ELL, and family literacy. And we're offering learning to adults and families as we celebrate our 50th anniversary. So we left you a quick little information paper. And I just want to point out in here, in this section where it says then, we had a motion and it was made by Martha Feelish. So that's a name too familiar to many in the community. And I just wanted to point out that she was our very first chairperson. And so I feel honored to be walking in her footsteps. And also, I'm just going to point out the years of service. We have a staff member, Christine Hominiak, is celebrating 40 years with our council. We have another staff person, Lydia Seelan, 30 years with our council, and I'll just let you read the rest of them. We've been here a long time. We've been supporting the community, and we hope to continue supporting the community. And we brought you a lovely treat from Anderson's. So this is all on behalf of Anderson's, and he's left a card. So whenever you're ready to eat that, there's meats and cheeses and things like that. So if it's not quite time, you might want to pop it into the fridge. If not, then you can open it up anytime and enjoy. So comments, questions, concerns? Like I said, it's probably not often that you get somebody walking in your doors and not asking for something, correct? So like I said, we're not here to say, we're just wanting to let everybody know, we've decided that in lieu of having a party to celebrate, we're going around and we're just personally thanking the people that have supported us. So the town and the county councils, the village councils, the various different groups and community members that have been supporting us throughout. So we're sort of making a little path throughout the county this year. And the two of us are sort of going on a little thank you journey and have been stopping into various different places just to say thank you. Thank you for our support. Thank you for continued support. And we would just like to say, have a good day.
thank you.
Anything?
No.
Do you have any idea how many courses or how many students you have had over the years? Is that kind of? Because it's 50 years, yeah, that's a.
Yeah, we should ask her to put something
Your
like that
statistics would
together.
be quite stunning by now.
Yeah,
How many people you've served.
yeah, it's, yes, you're right. That would be interesting to know how many courses and how many people we've reached out to. So at current time, we're running mums and tots type of programs. We're doing a lot of ELL. We've got a lot of language learners in our community that we're getting a lot of support for them. The foundational learning is a little bit harder to describe, but we're just making sure that people get basic computer service and basic instructions and things like that. So that's what we are currently bringing to our community. And if there's something that you think that we can help with, remember to ask us. Our webpage is on the little notepad that we've given, so you can check out our webpage. And said we're just out saying thank you, letting people know we're still around in 50 years. Okay,
Good.
We'll let you do it then.
And if I could make a comment and a huge, on behalf of all of us, a huge thank you to you and the organization. I had, not about me, but I had the privilege of being on the board and taking some courses along the way and Mrs. Baelish is my aunt, so it's a great group of powerful people that do the things that make our community better. So thank you for what you do. And of particular interest is the ESL. That is very helpful, especially to our Ukrainian newcomers. So
Absolutely.
thank you. I've heard nothing but positive things. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
50 more years.
if there's
Yeah.
anything else that we can do to help, like I said, reach out, let us know. You have information there so that you would be able to contact us by going onto the webpage and thank you very much.
Thank
So we'll get out
Thank
there.
you, guys.
Yeah.
You're not staying for lunch with us?
No, that's our gift to you.
Dine and dash.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because they're not dining.
Oh, yeah, just dashing.
They're just dashing.
Yeah, thanks for your talk, ladies. Have a great week.
Yes. Don't work too hard.
Okay.
So do we want to fill a plate and continue, and maybe jump ahead since our next delegation is a little
We
late?
weren't sure if you wanted to take a break to actually eat or if you wanted to continue, so we kind of made the agenda flexible, knowing that, yeah, if you continued, you could just jump ahead and come back to the delegation.
I mean, we can take like a 15-minute and enjoy like a whole snack or we good feel.
I didn't eat because I thought we were having lunch.
So did I.
together. I thought that we were pausing the meeting and that when I looked at the next delegation, I thought the whole point was
No,
to
we
sit
could.
down and have lunch.
I just thought.
But
we
now
were
that they're
staying
gone,
Yeah.
that's why I'm surprised because I thought we were having lunch with
with
them.
them too. That's what I thought, so we can change it up now that.
Why don't we just have a little recess?
Yeah.
We'll have
Well,
a,
little recess is 5 minutes.
okay, like 15. Have a nice lunch that they provided. That was very sweet, and then we'll get back to the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay with everybody? Okay.
That works for me.
I'll recess.
Okay, we'll call a recess at 12:17. Or did you say one is here?
I said, are they here? Because we.
Well, I see Jordan, but I don't know, but if somebody wants to listen, we can, right? Okay, good. 6 so we'll call the meeting back to order, sorry, at 12:36. And we'll move to 6.1. 2024 action list.
This is one that got missed at a previous meeting, so it's all of 24's outstanding lists. You'll notice a lot are just in progress and some of them just will be in progress for long periods of times and others still need to be dealt with.
No.
Go ahead and make the motion to accept the 2024 action list, and thank you for providing it. This meeting.
Any discussion about the actions? If not, I'll call a question. All in favor? None opposed or carried. And we'll move to 6.2, administrative reports.
So there for your consideration. A little shorter than normal because it was a 2-week turnaround.
Very nice.
Yeah, so a couple of quick questions. Just checking who's online. So I think Dawn, in your last report, you had reported that the Rogers Tower would begin in February and we're now into March and any updates or?
I emailed them and asked if they were starting on time so that I could make sure that, because I want the public to be notified. And I didn't hear back, but then we did hear back asking if they needed a road allowance. So we responded to that and let them know they were fine to use that road for access, but I have not received an actual update on a firm start date. But they've also sent the update on the rental agreement, like where we invoice, so they seem to be on the verge. But I've emailed, I'll email again to say, you know, is there an actual start date yet? Because the date they gave me was February 17th, I want to say.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we've emailed back and forth about other things and asked for an update, but nothing firm yet. So it should be anytime now.
So my only thought, and thank you for that update, my only thought is now with your resignation, how would we capture that? I know Crystal would know, but should there be a motion, should there be like, how do we, as council, like you said, notify the public?
Yeah, all that'll be passed on, so in the event there's not an interim in place yet, then you'll appoint someone. My assumption would be Crystal in-house, but maybe it's something different, or maybe you have an interim in place, but I'm creating notes on everything that needs to be passed on, and Crystal's well aware of the motions and whatnot, so, and I'm notifying all organizations that I can think of that I won't be here, and that it'll be Crystal as the assistant CAO until an interim's in place. So it'll be her job to make sure that those things are done, but I have a notes file I've got on my desktop where as things come up, so I'm just gonna make note right now to make sure I add this on to my notes. So I'm doing that's the advantage of, it is a long turnaround, 6 weeks, but the advantage is as things are coming up, I'm able to write the notes in there and make sure that as much information is being passed on and it's as seamless as possible to Crystal and the interim and future CAO.
Very good.
Okay, and thank you, Dawn, for that. Yeah, I just didn't know how to capture it, so it was just for updates, especially to the public that's forward facing. And then my second comment and final one is, and I was just looking if John was perhaps on, in his report from February 24th, he had reported that the tech was coming out February 13th for the Pumpkin Park Charger. So it was reported it was not working, so I was wondering if there's any updates on that at this time.
Crystal is working with the supply company because it's barely out of warranty, so she's trying to argue it to get it covered, so that's where we're at with the repair. It was the way they worded it, it was a defective part, so if it was defective, why wouldn't it be covered? So Crystal's been working with the company and then Evolution as well to try and get that covered. So it's not repaired yet.
So the company is Dandelion and then Evolution is another company, or?
Evolution is the ones that oversee them. I'm thinking it would be Dandelion that would be the install. So yeah, I don't see her on there unless she's the guest. But I know Crystal was working with them on trying to get it covered rather than paying for the repair. But it took until late last week to determine the repair and what was wrong with it. So now we're working on getting it covered. And if not, we'll have to go ahead and do the repair.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Evelyn?
Just one comment about the development officer, the great or the development officer. Fantastic to read that she's having a meeting with the town of Westlock about their HAF program. And just a strong recommendation that she also contact Bow Island, because I talked to the mayor. I sit on a committee with them, and they've got some really great initiatives going on with their HAF. And they're also the ones that actually also wanted to write a letter to the government, because there's more federal money coming for housing. There's going to be a second round of that. And that's the CAO of Bow Island really seems to be on top of that. So if she could reach out to him and share information, I really like our town to be on top of that second round of applications for funding.
I know there was one that was tied into, and this just came out recently is what I'm understanding, is that came out with the first year reporting. So we would have missed that. But if there's others coming, then for sure.
I didn't get into the details. I was just
I know
told
there
that they're already preparing, and they were prepared for this one as well too.
Yeah.
So he sounds like an excellent resource to talk to.
I did pass on another one. I was listening to another municipality's meeting. And I didn't realize they had received the HAF and passed on their report as well, just for brainstorming ideas, right? So yeah, I will definitely get her to
Thank you.
look into that one as well.
Other questions or comments? I think it's your turn, Evelyn, to accept or make the motion.
Sorry, that shouldn't be before we start discussing. I'll make the motion that the town of Smoky Lake accept for information the administrative report for February 19th to March 5th, 2025.
All in favor? Rules are carried. And we'll move to deferred items and old business. We'll do 7.1. Accept the delegation of the CLC. Did you want to make Marianne?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we accept the presentation given by Melody Caven and Mary Lou Doshishik of the Smoky Lake County Community Learning Council as presented.
All in favor? Opposed, so carried. And then we'll jump to 7.4. 911 West Railway Drive motions.
Just
Yeah.
before we get going. It was so nice of them to bring us lunch but it does feel a little backwards, like they're saying thank you to us and really we should be, I was just wondering, like, is there something we can do to recognize this 50th, like 50 years of CLC?
For business recognition policy, we can do something, like usually it's a certificate,
I think so.
but you could do a plaque or whatever you want, but often we've done certificates of recognition.
I might even suggest something like a plaque similar to this format and just,
Yeah.
or a certificate or something. So do you want a motion or?
I think so. You can go ahead if you want, or I can, whatever.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll make the motion that administration look into doing up a plaque to recognize the Smoky Lake County Community Learning Council 50-year anniversary.
And that's out of what budget and how much money?
It's
Or would you
in
want to
our,
go back?
it's in our,
That one's in
it's in our policy.
promotions, I think it's in the promotions budget.
Yeah.
But
We have a
it
budget,
says
we
the-
have a budget.
But it
for
says
this
the
type of
amount,
thing.
sorry, in policy. For recognition, I think, but I could,
Although this is
I just don't know what.
a plaque, so it's a little, I think the policies.
Sure.
Good to be part of the motion, not a generic one, but one specific.
Yeah, so. I think probably, I don't know how much a plaque is, I'm gonna say not to exceed $100. That should get us,
So we are all in agreement for a plaque, because you're saying that's in the policy. That it's a plaque.
it could be a certificate, actually it's what's in the policy. But Counselor Deputy Mayor was suggesting a 50-year acknowledgement plaque, and I agree that that would be nice, it's quite a significant anniversary. Would you like me to restate my motion? Have you got it? Make a motion that we,
I have sent a plaque to recognize the Smoky Lake County, yeah, that one, 50th anniversary budgeted from promotions,
not to exceed.
not to exceed 100.
Recognition gifts may include plaques, frames, scrolls, certificates, town promotional items purchased at reasonable price at the discretion of, it says administration, but yeah. So yeah, you're good.
So you said not to exceed
100.
100?
And
Should be well below that, I'm thinking, but that gives a nice.
yeah,
Except that it would go, you can't do it when there's a team.
All in favor? None opposed, so carried. All right, 7.4, 911 West Railway Drive motion. The request.
Yeah, so would you like me to speak to it or yeah, thank you, Carly. It was the motion was a future meeting, so thank you for being so prompt and wasn't quite expecting it to today, but so what I think my comment would be at the previous meeting, so February 24th, we had the two agreements that accompanied the request for decision, and then it went to the motions. So now when I look at the motions, I don't see any motions to perhaps a motion to execute the agreements. And in all fairness, though, I think we should, because of our situation, maybe just defer it to when the contract CO is in place, or
Well,
Sorry, XQ, which agreement are you talking about? Like with the cadets or with the?
so there was the two, if I may answer that, there's the two agreements that we saw last time. So there's a 3-year agreement with the Canets. But is there a motion?
For which one, sorry, with Bill? Or to sell the land or the
We're talking about the corn maze one?
corn maze, was just to enter an agreement with them regarding the corn maze.
Did I miss something that all of council knew it was 3 years and I didn't, or?
why, what were you thinking? How long was it? Like what were? Like what? I'm not understanding.
So our signing policy is that all agreements should come to council prior to for approval.
Okay, so just for clarification, then you don't want them, you didn't, when you requested the motions, what you were looking for was specific motions for the agreements? So, and I didn't, like, when you say all of council knew about 3 years. Well, like, I don't remember what it is, I didn't. But is,
I was told what it was, but I wouldn't have remembered 3
Yeah.
years. Like it could have been 2 or 5, but I don't.
so you just wanna make a motion, sorry,
Defer, yeah.
not to defer, but you wanna make a motion, you want to see the agreements.
We already saw it.
Okay, so then. What are we
Referring, yeah.
Yeah, see, it's. The signing authority says that the CO bylaw authorizes the CO to sign and execute all agreements and contracts made or executed on behalf of Smoky Lake. It talks about the mayor signing. We received direction to enter an agreement, so then we just traded for them to use the space. But there was no motion to bring it back, so then the agreement was drawn up and signed. Because we got the direction to enter an agreement, not to draft an agreement, but to enter an agreement, so then we entered the agreement. But the mayor signs it, but the motion was to enter the agreement, so. You want them brought back, it doesn't talk about. But yes, we could bring back, make sure that all agreements are brought back. If you want this updated, this has to be updated anyways, it's on the list of policies to be updated. But we received the motion to enter the agreement. With direction.
What motions?
Marianne?
So what you're saying, Dawn, is we need a motion to sign the agreement?
There
Or
was
a
a
motion to
motion.
bring it back?
Well, and it might not, see, but this is all the motions from 911 Rest Valley. So so Carly looked up every motion that had 911 West Railway Drive in the motion. But the corn maze could have been a different motion, the connects, right? Is that? It's hard to find every motion related to that piece of land with, so she looked at 911 West Railway Drive. So if that wasn't in the motion, the address, if it was just to enter an agreement with Connects, that might not be caught in here. If you give me a second, I can see if I can find that one.
Evelyn?
So what you're saying is that these aren't all the motions then associated with it, so we should defer it until the next meeting so that those motions that you say might not have been caught are included in this.
What do you want to search for, I guess, is the question though, right?
So,
Because it's, aside from going line by line by each one to see if any relate to that property, it's finding the parameters of what to search. The motion was regarding 911 West Railway Drive, so that's what Carly looked up. But what I'm saying is this one, the entering of the agreement with the Connects might not have had the address in there, so it might not have got caught. But how do you find all the ones? Like, what else do we look up? right? Signs, because there's probably a motion regarding the signs in general that relate to that property. Like there could be hundreds of different motions, that's really an exaggeration, dozens of motions that relate to this area, but how do we know what to search to find them all? So she just found what she could.
And Maria?
Thank you. And I agree, and I think Carly's done an amazing job to capture this. I would like a little bit more time just to review it and then see if there is anything that's not included, and I'm going to take at this time, in lieu of time, I'd like to move that the town of Smoky Lake defer the 911 West Railway Drive inventory of motions from dated, one too many froms, but dated from 2021 to 2025 to the March 31st regular council meeting.
No, just one question. And do you want to include motions pertaining to the foreign ways agreement? Like to add to it, not just this motion, these motions, but just so we get what you're looking for, right?
Probably, and okay, if I could make a friendly amendment to that, and you made me aware of another part, so friendly amendment to the motion and to include any corn, maize, or connect motions for agreements. And we also, the sign agreements, if there's a separate agreement for Dell to have the signs on that property as well, as previously discussed at the workshop. Would you accept that friendly amendment? Thank you.
You're okay, Carly? Okay, all in favor? None opposed to carry. Should have it back.
I can read it back, yeah. The town of Smoky Lake defer the 911 West Railway Drive inventory motions dated from 2021 to 2025, and to include Cormies, cadet, and sign agreement. Agreements, signage agreements. Motions pertaining. Yeah.
Okay. 7.5 agricultural complex funding agreement.
So this motion was defeated at the last meeting to be sent then to the joint town and county. So if we want to consider forwarding the agreement to the agricultural complex for consideration, we need a first motion to rescind the motion. Reconsider the motion. But we can vote on it again. Does that make sense?
Okay, are you talking about it? Mel?
I'd like to make motion that town of Smoky Lake reconsider motion 134-2025, the town of Smoky Lake for the Smoky Lake Agricultural Complex Agreement for operational support to the Smoky Lake Agricultural Society Board creation, and further to execute the agreement upon acceptance from the board.
All in favor? Considering. None opposed, so carried. And now that's, I guess there's a motion. Yeah, Marianne.
I would be in favor of motion 2, with the exception of the only change I would make to the agreement at this time, and to be in support of the motion, I would say, would council considering on page 75 under number 5, the term, closing it off at December 31st, 2025, so that we have the agreement in place and it's good till the end of the year. And after the election, next council can review it.
Clarificate. I'm looking on page 75, under term, number 5, that's where you're talking about?
Sorry, yeah,
Sorry, I was gonna say, from January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, and you're asking for it to be changed to 2025? December 31st, 2020, okay.
Mel?
I just wanna make sure you understood.
that's what I'm proposing.
I don't love that, and that's just because new ones are coming in. Part of this is pertaining to snow and winter, and they'd have to redo a contract in their first 2 months. And that just seems like a lot. For 8 months. 10 months, yeah.
There is number 6 has amendments that the agreement may be modified or amended only by written instruments. So what we could do is, if you want to keep a longer contract, but to bring it back within that timeline for the new council to consider if there's any changes to be made, would be another option.
That seems reasonable, like I totally get what you're saying, like so that the new council can review it. But if you put a longer timeline on it, but make a motion that it's reviewed, then it'll automatically come back for review by the new council. Like you want it to expire in 10 months? If you do, that's fine. I just want to know why. I get that we want them to review it and that's always great. And I'm sure it's going to come back as an item anyways next year, like it's part of their budget, the budget process, right? So it's going to be there. And I just not trying, I just think it's fascinating if I was the new council, all of a sudden you're reviewing something that they just did 8 months ago and all of a sudden you're reviewing it.
Marianne?
So my intention is not to be combative or belabor this, but friendly reminder, we have not had an agreement in place for a number of years. And I think it's only fair because it does impact the budget. I would support the motion to go forward to at least give it to the Ag Society, because they might come back and say to us, this agreement needs to be modified in whatever capacity. So that's why I'm positioning it to the rest of council.
Dawn?
Well, I'll just add that when I did update the Ag Society, Sharon specifically on the change in the funding, she was not happy with the funding. That her wording was along the lines of that the town could be taking over fully with the lack of funding. So just hear back that they're not happy with this agreement. So just a heads up, the funding amount.
Marianne?
Okay, so there's no motion on the table. So, and thank you for that, Dawn. I agree, because I think it's vital in our community, and knowing that the county puts in 60,000, maybe our best, this agreement is best served at the upcoming budget meeting in March 27th to increase the amount, or to look at what that looks like if we have money in the budget.
A reminder, we're also bringing back budget cuts and the interim CAO. So just love it, just making the comment.
No.
Because I really would like this to move forward, I am willing to I don't love that, but I'm willing to accept it because I do want this to at least get to the Ag Society board for some feedback. And if that's the only way to get it there, then I'll get on board.
You want it to go?
Marianne?
Would you be, is 15 months beneficial, like, so March 31st, 2020?
I think that would give at least through the winter months and some time, right?
Sway me.
Well, I don't know how else to sway you because it is a short timeline. It can be, the document states it can be amended by a written submission. So that is in there. If we want to make sure that, like, if we're trying to set people up for success, the a little bit longer is probably a little bit more beneficial. We all know how it is when you get council turnover and what happens in your first couple months. So yeah, I would live a little bit happier with if we got through the March months.
So would you like me to frame a motion at this time? And considering we didn't have an agreement all this time, right? So I'm gonna put a motion on the floor and go from there. So the town pardon me, sorry. So we're looking at the second motion that the town of Smoky Lake forward the Smoky Lake Agricultural Complex Funding Agreement for operational support to the Smoky Lake Ag Society Board with the terms to expire on March 31st, 2026 for consideration and further to execute the agreement upon acceptance from the board.
All in favor? None opposed, so carried.
Thank you.
7.6, Industrial Inquiry Commission Review Canada.
Madam Mayor, could I interrupt, please? So would you at this time want to have it at the budget meeting if there is any cuts that can be, that we can increase the funding based on what Dawn said, or?
No.
I think that the two separate things, we can go ahead and send the agreement, and I don't think if the town finds the budget money to up it, I don't think the Ag Society is gonna have an issue with that. So at that time, we can always do a resolution.
Should we have a motion?
No, it's in the budget, so when it comes to that line in the budget, I think we can talk about it then.
Thank you.
Commission reviewing Canada Post. Evelyn?
I'll make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake file for information the request from the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, CUPW, to submit a resolution to the Industrial Inquiry Commission Review Board regarding public stakeholder consultation received from Jan Simpson, President of Canadian Union of Postal Workers, dated January 16th, 2025.
Or any discussion? Evelyn?
The only thing that I wanted to add to this is to say thank you to admin for reaching out to the regional post offices, and the information that you provided in this RFD is exactly what I was looking for and confirms that motion. So thank you very much.
All in favor? None opposed, so carried. 7.7, Monkey Lake Regional Heritage Board collaboration. Mel?
I'd like to make the motion that, thanks, Ellen. I get really good focus, thank you.
You and me both.
I'd like to make the motion that the Town of Smoky Lake appoint Deputy Mayor Marianne Brodsky-Zerusky. And who's the alternate? Me?
Correct.
I think so. And Melody Morton to a committee to collaboratively manage historic resources to increase heritage-driven tourism, to be made up of Heritage Board and municipal representatives for inclusive decision-making to plan strategies that will achieve shared goals and objectives.
Discussion.
My discussion is, I just followed what had been said about having people that were already on it. That being said, is there anybody, like I just followed that, is there anybody that is interested, like has a real inkling that would like to be on this? Because I just was following what the motions, I was just following suit, so. My question was just to put it out there, if there's some real interest from somebody else, I'm willing to be on it, but I'm also willing, if somebody else really wants to be, I'm willing to step back for sure. So I just wanted to throw it out there.
Marianne?
So a couple of comments, and first of all, thank you for saying that. So it's, it wouldn't be an alternate because it's posting 2 members, right?
Sorry, I meant alternate, like for who's, I
Okay,
picked who's the member and the alternate for the Heritage Board currently, and that's where I got the names from, but that's
Okay, well, and thank you. So then my other comments are, so this is, I would assume this is a new committee. This is a brand new committee, and as per our procedural bylaw, the committee's name is not sure. And do we have money in the budget to support a new committee? And so I'm
Dawn?
So the Heritage Board put in the request for the collaboration and the committee. So I think the intention is have the committee get it started to establish what the plan is for the committee. And then what I heard at Joint Town and County was that the committee would then come back if they had financial requests, and then that would be a consideration. That's what I understood.
No.
I think what Marianne's stating is that the town of Smoky Lake have we get paid to go to committee meetings.
Okay.
I think that's what she's saying. I'm not sure how many meetings this is going to take. But that's what you're saying.
The budget
Yes.
for the committees.
If I could add to that, thank you, because in our procedure bylaw, Dawn, I'm sure you'll agree, we have what's needed to start a committee. And so when we're starting a brand new committee, without a name at this time, do we have funds in our budget to support that and to the financial contribution, and what does that look like? Because we don't really have a policy around it either. So we're starting brand new. And I'm cautiously optimistic.
No.
I think to move forward, I think we should, we're either in or out, right? And I think that, to move this forward and to start doing anything with heritage and tourism, we have to move forward. So I know the balances and its budget but are we talking about going backwards, or you don't know? Well, let's go back to my question. Is there anybody who had an appetite that wanted to, I'm actually just looking at that one. Do you have an appetite to want to be on this committee? Because like I said, I only followed suit in what the county did, and my heart's not set on it. So if yours is, I am willing to step back. I was just making a motion to follow suit. For sure.
I can't, I'm a paid, I'm not a representative on that board. Evelyn?
I actually would like to, according to our procedural bylaw, we have a policy for determining whether we join this committee or not. It says right here. 13 committees established by council shall be governed by policy as further defined in the policy established. And it's one thing that I've noticed that we don't have in place, is this already started way back a year ago for me, when I was asking, how is it that we came to be on, a member at large was on Community Futures. And at the last meeting, we removed committees that were added to our chart that were not approved by council. It was not done by motion of council. And I think when again, right here, I have in front of me Wetaskiwin, that they have a bylaw to establish council board and committees. And actually, that is what I think we need to do when it's like, instead of going, okay, we'll join this committee, maybe we need to take a step back first and determine what we need to have in place. Why do we join committees, or what is it? The policy on why we do join them. So actually, I'm not comfortable moving forward with this, because I think we actually need a policy in place before we do so, to save us the grief that I've been trying to point out since for the last year when it comes to our council assignments.
This be, so this is a committee of the Heritage Board. And then they're asking us to put members on, is what right? Is that correct? That's one of the issues, is we're not clear, right? Because this isn't our committee. It's not a council appointed committee. It's they're requesting a collaboration committee that would involved are, so who's responsible then, like. From what I understood of it, it was a heritage board requesting a new committee, so they want to establish a new committee, so it's not a council committee, and they want our representation on it. So, and I agree, you need to follow we should be following our procedural bylaw, but with that one, it says councillors. Council shall be provided the terms of reference or bylaws of any committee, board, or commission not established by council to which members are appointed, so I think we more fall under 13.4. Unless I'm wrong and it is we've been looking at it as a heritage board committee asking for us to have representation. So we're just committing to that we will put members on this, we'll support the committee. And now their responsibility should be to come back with the terms of reference to be brought back to council to move forward before anything happens with this committee. To make sure it adheres to our procedural bylaw. And then remuneration would fall within the per diems policy, honorariums and per diems. But I think we're a ways away from that because they need to establish, they have to actually establish the committee. I agree with you, Councillor Coase. Right now, all we have is this request, but there's no actual committee yet. There's no, as our deputy mayor pointed out, there's no name because this needs to go back to, I think, the heritage board to say the town and county have both supported this. We have members that were willing to move forward, put forward for this. But now you need to take the next steps before we can actually, because there's no committee, right? So I agree with you.
Thank you, Marianne.
And I also agree with what has been said, and thank you, Dawn. Even how you prepared this request for decision for us. It's titled, the topic is Smoky Lake Regional Heritage Board, right? So the assumption is it is a new committee, okay, and following our procedural bylaw. And then to add to what Mel has a motion on the floor, I would not support recommendations 2 or 3. So in what the Heritage Board, it's suggesting with the employees or the tourist booth.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking the same thing. I wasn't thinking this was a town, like we're not creating this. It was through it's like a subcommittee of the Heritage Board is what I understood. So now I'm really confused. If you're on the Heritage Board and you're saying it's not that and it's something different, then I think we need to defer this till we find out what it is. Like, I'd like to move forward with heritage driven tourism and I want to support that, but I guess I'm not clear I thought it was a request from the Heritage Board to start a subcommittee and have representation from the town and the Heritage Board on it. No?
Why do you say no?
I never heard the word subcommittee in all of Noreen's presentations, and that was at the joint municipality. Unfortunately, yeah, sorry you weren't there, but it was never a subcommittee.
Okay.
But do you think the Heritage Board would be opposed to a subcommittee? I don't think they would be opposed to it. Because Noreen's gonna have a lot to do with the decisions that she would like us to do too, because she's a big part of all of this.
So she brought forward requests from the Heritage Board to create a new board made up of Heritage Board and municipal representatives. So maybe that clarity on, is this a subcommittee or a separate committee? Is important to know, because well, either way, it sounds like it's being run through the Heritage Board, that they're creating it. So whether it's a branch or a subcommittee, I guess, is maybe irrelevant. It sounds like they're heading it up, what I'm reading.
In answer to your question, usually when you have a subcommittee, it's temporary, it's more ad hoc. You're creating I was on a subcommittee for Water Commission to review the bylaw. It had a beginning and an end, because the only thing instead of getting everybody around the table to argue about, to decide on the bylaw, we created a subcommittee, those that were interested in it. We decided on what it was, then we presented to the greater board, and that's actually, so that is why the subcommittee is the wrong language to use whatsoever with this. This is a whole separate animal, a whole separate committee, because this is the one that's going to be focused on tourism. Am I correct about this? Am I understanding this correctly?
Cultural-led tourism.
Because it has to do with because again, the other asks that were associated with it has everything to do with promoting it. So it has to do with the marketing of it, promoting tourism. It has nothing to, whereas the Heritage Board is all about
keeping, yeah.
Focusing on the
Preservation.
assets and restoration and, exactly,
Could
and
this-
they're not at all, so they're not at all interested in tourism.
Could this be more of an advisory board? Like, just so it's connected? Okay, Marianne?
And I think and you're right, and I think to what you said, what's the impact? The cost, it's gonna come as a cost to the town of Smoky Lake to join the, like Dawn said, the Heritage Driven Tourism Committee that is going to be a new committee. So
No.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm trying to wrap my head around like next steps, because are we in favor of having historic driven tourism? If we're in favor of doing that, if this isn't the next step, what is the next step?
And it's 119, sorry, I just, and our delegation's at 150. So we can come back to this, just.
we can
Marianne?
Sorry, I'm comfortable with the motion that's on the table, but I would like to establish some parameters. And I think we've all made some excellent points. I don't know that we need more information, but
Just have the one motion and not the.
And see what happens.
If we do the motion to support the appointing the members to say the town is supportive of moving forward with this heritage driven tourism, then I could reach out, or we could reach out to Noreen to ask her what the next steps are, and then update council on that on March 31st. Now, will she be creating the terms of reference? Is the Heritage Board overseeing this? Is this a branch of the Heritage Board, however you want to word it, and get that information to say the town supports it. We have members, but we need to know what next steps are, because to technically be established, we need terms of reference to everything else. Would that be appropriate? So I think appointing the members, which can be rescinded and
Sure.
changed in the
Yeah.
future, it shows that we're committed to moving forward with this board.
So we can find more information. Evan?
Well, I'm not, okay, and if that's what you're gonna do it, but I'm not gonna support this motion because literally spent the last meeting cleaning up committees that were basically non-existent. And now we're just suddenly going, okay, let's join this committee. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Ukrainian 20, you spent more time talking about, you've been meeting and discussing what the committee would look like, what was involved, and so on. And this one, we're just assigning members, so I'm not gonna support this.
Marianne?
I'm here to sway you to support this motion because I've already said that I would support it, but I will not adhere or be bound by the recommendations that the county has already passed and moved on for number 2 and 3. I think that we have a great opportunity that it would come back on March 31st with some parameters, and how am I doing for swaying you?
Is it? Will you go ahead and make the motion?
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion will be carried.
Commissioner Sandy's doing the exact same thing over and over again.
Okay, we will get to our delegation. See, they're kindly waiting online.
Hi. Hi, it's Gerald Amorin. How is everyone?
Good, thank you.
Good. Would you
You
just
want
like, sorry,
A quick introduction around the table?
sure, that'd be great.
Okay, well, Marianne, would you have to start?
Good afternoon, my name is Marianne Foskey-Zeruski.
Hi, Gerald. I'm Evelyn Cobes, counselor.
Hello.
Amy Trinitron, Mayor of Smoky Lake.
Melody Morton, counselor.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So,
Like Carly and Dawn, or?
Dawn Phillips, I'm the CAO.
sorry, Jane.
No.
Here we go.
I'm Carly, I'm the legislative services clerk.
She's in the
Awesome.
camera, I think. Hiding in the corner.
Can you move over?
Great, thank you. So would I be able to share my screen or?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. So I'll just say hi real quick. Hello, I'm Gerald Morin. I am the manager and the finance officer for Krask. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I'll just hop into my PowerPoint here. And I have to apologize right off the bat. I saved it as Town of Devon. I know you are the Town of Smoky Lake, but I had a lot of things in my mind, I guess, as I was saving this. Okay. Slideshow. Okay, does that appear for everyone there?
Yeah.
Okay, so I again am the manager and finance officer of the Capital Region Services Commission. I'm hoping that this is kind of covering what Councillor Cobes you had mentioned we spoke about a few weeks ago here. So if I'm going over things that you guys already know in depth, please interrupt me and we can kind of skip over that. So I do mean this to be more informal. So also if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me as we go along. So just to start off, I guess, is to just confirm, like, you guys are interested in kind of just having an info session about what Krask is and what your membership means. Is that kind of what we're getting at here, or?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so I'll get to the next slide here. Of course, I'm the admin support. I was hired on in 2022. Was anyone on the council prior to that? Or I guess, did anyone happen to know the previous administration? Because
No.
sorry.
I was on council, but I did not know the previous administration.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, they had just been doing it for a long time. So I was just curious if anyone was in touch with Archie or Richard, but okay. So the history of Krask. So we operate under the authority of the Municipal Government Act of Alberta. And we were formed in 1996. An order in council was passed giving us legal status to operate as a commission. So that's close to 30 years now. And a bit of background on how we came to be was prior to the formation of the commission, member municipalities relied upon the assessment services branch of Alberta Municipal Affairs. And in the mid-90s, the province eliminated a lot of the core services it offered. So that included assessment services. And in response to that, a number of the municipalities in the region recognized that by working together, they could continue service and manage costs. So that's kind of how we came to be. So we are governed by a board of directors appointed by the member municipalities. And in 2021, these were the 4 elected board members to serve for 4 years as the directors of the commission. And following the municipal elections, the councils of each of the member municipalities appoint a representative and an alternate to the commission. And each year it's those member representatives that attend and participate in the AGM, which is held typically in the fall of each year. So the mission of Krask is to provide high quality, cost effective assessment services and fair and timely assessment review board services through efficient municipal cooperation. So a bit about Krask services. So we have 2 services. It's municipal property assessment and assessment review board services. So this is just a snapshot from the Krask website. And as a member, you would have both of these services. And so the commission acts on the behalf of the 31 members, and we hire qualified independent assessment contractor service companies to provide the annual assessment services for everyone. And we also provide the assessment review board services. Does anyone have any questions so far about any of that?
Nope.
No, okay. So this is a list of our, on the left is what we'll call full members. So they're a full member of the commission. There's 31 of them. And on the right is what we call ARB services only. So back in, I think, 2010, we started offering ARB services, and then throughout the years, they had decreased kind of the red tape of joining joint ARBs in order to kind of encourage municipalities to join joint ARBs, and that's why we have the two types of participants versus members, I guess. So on the right is the participants, on the left is our full members. And so in total, that means we manage over 150,000 parcels of land between the two types. So this is how kind of how we grew to, I think we're at 74 municipalities now for our joint ARB. So we were founded in 1996, and then in 2010, we began to offer ARB services. And then in 2019, the LPRT started letting other municipalities join CRASC as a way to encourage less red tape and less barriers to join these as a encouraging initiative. So the next slide is just about property assessment. So I won't spend too much time on this because you guys probably know about this stuff. So assessment, of course, is the assignment of a dollar value on properties for the purposes of taxation. And then this determines the amount of taxes that will be charged to the owner. So what happens if those two don't agree? And that's kind of where we step in. This at a high level is the complaint system. And then that red circle is kind of where CRASC becomes involved at the time where a resolution cannot be met between the complainant and the assessor. So we strive to uphold the LPRT's vision, which states that Albertans will have access to a fair and independent process with strict adherence to the principles of natural justice, and which all individuals are treated fairly and without bias in an open, orderly, and impartial manner. This next slide is about assessment review boards. It basically shows that the complaint system is a mechanism to resolve disagreements in assessed value. There are two types of assessment review boards, and the type of property that the complaint is about will determine the type of assessment review board that will hear your complaint. This one, next one is, what does CRASC do? So first of all, it ensures a sufficient pool of qualified panelists and a clerk are available for your assessment review board. It also ensures that all complaint files are handled as per current legislation. And on the right is just kind of the typical process of what a complaint file goes through. And like, not all municipalities have complaints filed, like it's kind of just whatever happens in that year. So you can't really predict what a complaint year will look like. So we also publish 2 annual documents. So one is a how-to for the municipal staff that kind of is the first point of contact at your office for dealing with complaints. And then the other one is a residential property information pamphlet that we encourage you to put on your website for. It's just a nice brochure that outlines a lot of deadlines and details for your property owners. So this is it just in a closer view. And it's just a nice 2-page kind of fold up document that has, it's updated every year. So those are from a couple of years ago now, but it just kind of tells you kind of what the process is. And it's super useful for someone that doesn't really know how the assessment cycle works. This is just another slide about the LPRT's vision, so I won't go into that one. And I'd say just a few benefits of your membership obviously includes the, security of your municipal assessment services. So we do strive to get a good pricing for your services and obviously have qualified assessors do the work. And as well as the peace of mind of knowing that the ARB side of things is covered. Because if you're not getting a lot of complaints, it's hard to kind of keep up with, okay, what are the steps to handle the complaint. And of course, the panelists that sit on these things, they need to be certified. So we kind of have all that kind of managed so that there's always someone available for that. I think that's it. So I am available for any questions regarding what I presented or in general, or if you have any other questions.
Well, this is probably more of a question for my administration, but do we have access to these pamphlets for the residents, for the public?
Yes, so I send it out I would have sent it out already for this year, but I do send it out to the I'll double check which contact I have for you, but I do try to send it out to the CAOs of each municipality as together with the how-to manual at the like within January or February of each year.
I did receive it, thank you.
Oh, good.
I forwarded it on to administration to make copies, yes. I don't know if we've got them yet, but
We have copies, we just haven't put on the website.
yeah. So, yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Oh, I can forward it to council as well.
It's in that.
It's here. So as the CRASC board member, do you have questions?
I don't, she cleared up a couple of things for me, which is great. I didn't actually know what they provided, like what services, so no, that's, and this is a very nice slideshow, thank you.
Oh, yeah, thanks. My nerves kind of get to me, so hopefully you bear with me through that.
Thank you very much, Gerald. So just for clarification, for when we have our organizational meeting in the fall, we will assign someone, because we are a member, we
Yes,
will assign someone as a CRASC board member. And then they're all, and then when they meet, it's in person in Edmonton.
yes.
So that board member has to be available during the day to attend
so
once a
sorry.
year.
It's like a CRASC representative. So the board member, yes, you can elect someone because it will be an election year this year. So if you do want to elect someone to sit on the board, that is separate from the CRASC appointed representative, which is the
Yes,
person
right,
that goes to the AGMs. Yeah.
And it's that person that when they attend the AGM, they're the ones that are electing the board members that we saw on the screen.
Yes. Yeah. That person would have a voting right to elect. Yeah.
So then, then it's those board members that they have more to do, but then our member just needs to show up once a year to the AGM. And that is the obligation of the person that we have on council that we assign.
Correct, yeah. So our quorum is 11 out of the 31 for the board member, for the AGMs. And we just vote, like we accept financials and we talk about the operations, and the chair will do a short presentation. So it's not a long meeting, but yeah, it is nice to have, your municipality represented, especially if you have questions or, want to know things. So, yeah.
And then if you could also give us an idea of, you break it down a little bit, because there's a separate group for towns than there is for cities, et cetera, correct?
Right.
Or it's all
So,
the same?
yeah. So each board member that's elected will be for each municipality type. So we have currently summer villages, towns, and cities. So for city, we just have the one city. So it always will be someone from that. A board member will always be from the city of Fort Saskatchewan. But for the other three, someone can be elected out of those four types of of municipalities. So for you guys, it would be the town. So I don't know offhand how many towns we have, but it would be someone from a town type, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because then what happens is that if somebody from our community, so from the town of Smoky Lake, if they file a complaint, then it's specifically that group, that town group that's going to assess the complaint.
No, not necessarily. So the board, do you mean who sits on the board for the assessment review board?
I think I did just confuse the two. So it's the
Okay.
towns that elect a specific board member from the town, or towns.
Yeah.
And-
So I guess, sorry to confuse things, but there's CRASC representatives, which are from all 31 members. And then there's a CRASC board of directors that help with the day-to-day on operations and that kind of thing. So we'll meet quarterly and I present financials to them, and we do like operational kind of approve those kind of things. And those are from each of the type of municipality, summer village, village, town, or city. And then there's another assessment review board, which is completely separate. And those are made up of the individuals that take provincial training to sit on the assessment review board. So they have nothing to do with any of the like voting or operations or financials or anything like that, but they just sit and they're the what would you say, the neutral party that's hearing information, like the adjudication panel. So that's a third board.
True, and that's the, we had an RFD in our agenda package in February, or.
Yeah.
With all the names, and then
Yes.
that, so when we approved through that motion, we were approving those individuals to be on the local and the composite assessment boards.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, but sorry, just to confirm, regardless of if they're from a town, city, or a village or summer village, it has nothing to do with like the elected board members that will sit as the board of directors.
Yeah, you're correct. I did cross over with the two.
Okay.
Now,
Thanks, yeah, okay, thank you.
Well, it looks like that's all we have for questions. Thank you very much for the explanation and the presentation. It was really good.
Of course, yeah, thank you for having me, and yeah, feel free to email me anytime or give me a call, and I'll be happy to help with any of that stuff.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great meeting, guys. Bye.
And then we'll move to the Smoky Lake County Municipal Land Use Tool Engagement, if Jordan is around. Oh, there he is. I should say, I know you're around. If you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, you all know who I am, and some of you, I think, received a brief introduction to the Municipal Land Use Suitability Tool last week when we kind of had that joint council meeting. And I was asked to bring back some more information. And I've brought Leif Olson here as well from O2, who's the consultant that's working on this project for us. So perhaps I'll let him introduce himself and then take it away with the discussion, and we'll hopefully have some time after for questions.
Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, nice to meet you all. Thank you for your time. I'm Leif Olson. I'm the Senior Open Space Planner here at O2 Planning and Design and the project manager on this work. I've got a brief presentation that if with your leave, I'll share with you now. And then, yeah, happy to have a more informed discussion after the fact. So the land use suitability tool is a framework that we developed to basically identify the land use potentials across large regions. So this was initiated by the county as a way of understanding the important agricultural, ecological, and cultural resources across the county, and using this as a guide and a facilitation tool alongside the existing land use planning frameworks to help guide and support decision-making processes to ensure sustainable and sound land use decisions. So this tool is something that we've developed in a few other municipalities, and we're adapting it for Smoky Lake. The key is to draw on an inventory of the region's land base and really understand which areas are most suitable for development of different kinds, with an eye towards ensuring that we protect important ecological, environmental, and cultural resources, and help facilitate sustainable economic development. We're right in the thrust of the key stakeholder interviews, where we're looking to make sure that our inventory of features and valued aspects of the county is complete, as well as to sort of understand some of the challenges and opportunities that different business units or different land uses are experiencing in the county today. As we do these spatial models, that leads to a suitability mapping. And so this draws on a variety of different kinds of spatial data, and defining those data as either push or pull factors. So a pull factor is something that makes an area more suitable for a given land use, and therefore increases the suitability and attracts those land uses. Whereas pull factors then are ones that are not suitable, or potentially in conflict, or introduce costs or other challenges to the use of a particular kind of land use in that area. And so we sum those together, and that produces a single land use surface that identifies the most suitable areas. These spatial factors then can have a different distance over which they operate, and a different strength. And the sum of all those produces a cumulative suitability for a given land use. One typical example of this process would be looking at industrial suitability, where pull factors would include existing industrial lands, highway intersections, existing infrastructure such as rail, electrical lines, or water infrastructure. And push factors would include things like existing residential lands, steep slopes, or ecologically valuable lands. And so the push and the pull is influenced by the distance that we set, where the pull is strongest closest to the feature and then degrades over a distance. An example of how we've done this in a few other places on the left here is in Parkland County, looking at suitability for industrial uses along the highways, clustering to existing areas, and then a similar approach taken up north in Lacrete, where we identified industrial suitability here. Here in Smoky Lake, we're looking beyond just industrial suitability, though. We have an eye towards active outdoor recreation, motorized outdoor recreation, highway commercial and tourism commercial suitability, as well as industrial, agribusiness, and renewable energy suitability. And to sort of support this, we're looking at two initial lenses of identifying ecologically valuable land and agriculturally valuable land. As some of our initial results here, then we've looked at soil texture, carbon, and agricultural practices to identify agriculturally valuable land here in the darker areas as being the highest scoring, most suitable, most potentially valuable. And then similarly looking at ecologically valuable land through a variety of scoring criteria, which include groundwater resources, surface water, known locations of species and habitats, and landscape biodiversity indices. And this sums up to, again, look at the most ecologically valuable land, which includes some really important wildlife corridors along river valleys up through the Wasetna area and into the north of the county. And then you can sort of see the impact of agriculture where we find some less valuable ecological lands during the more intensively used areas. Our existing inventory then is looking at, in addition to a variety of factors, cultural, recreational, and tourism attractions. So this includes the recreational trails, the Trans-Canada, the Iron Horse, and the Victoria District trails, as well as a variety of cultural features such as churches, museums, monuments, and other key attractions. As well as recreational features, which include campgrounds and boat launches, charging stations, rest areas, and other recreational facilities that attract people to the region. We're also looking at, access to the area through the highway system and the connected roads as well, and really highlighting that there are portions of the county that are relatively inaccessible and would require a more extensive development in order to access. And then looking at current land use drawn from the county's ASP, and identifying the areas that are currently planned through ASPs, as well as the towns and villages of the county. And then as we step through the push factors that we've identified for outdoor recreation, for example, we want to avoid the highest value ecological and agricultural lands because of the potential impacts of human access and use of the area, as well as avoiding existing industrial and planned commercial areas. Pull factors include the existing trail network, the road access, parks and protected areas, the sort of medium value natural settings, the recreation tourism opportunity areas, and existing residential lands. Motorized recreation is taking a similar approach, avoiding the highest value ecological lands and the industrial spaces, and pulling towards commercial and accessible areas and the sort of front country experiences that we see in the land. Tourism commercial, this is again being drawn by trails and attractions and historic resources, significant landforms and scenic views, river access locations, as well as existing infrastructure that would support commercial development. The highway commercial suitability, which is a little more focused on commercial that supports the local residents rather than the tourism visitors. And this is looking at clustering around existing commercial areas, highway intersections, existing power and water and wastewater infrastructure, agriculturally valuable lands, as well as attractions and road access, and again, avoiding steeper slopes, high value ag land, historic resources, and ecological values. And then industrial suitability, again, looking at pulls that really attract based on the existing infrastructure, and then avoiding the most sensitive lands and those that have the most sort of public facing or tourism qualities. And then agribusiness, again, looking at clustering around agricultural lands, as well as providing the necessary infrastructure to support agribusiness, and avoiding historic resources and steep slopes and high value lands. And then the last being renewable energy suitability. So here we're looking at the map of solar radiation, incoming solar radiation into the landscape, and really is highlighting the central north as being a particularly high value, especially on the south facing and west facing slopes. And again, then also coupling in lower value agricultural lands that could see agrivoltaic business, as well as power, road access, and flat grounds, and a certain minimum parcel size for those operations to exist. So that's sort of where we're at right now. We're just in the process of meeting with a variety of stakeholders, Métis Crossing next week, We've met with Travel Alberta and Travel Lakeland, as well as with the Smoky Lake Gun Club and a few other sort of key folks. We're trying to schedule a few meetings with Pine Creek Resort and the Historic Society and the Victoria District, which we met with early last week. So that's already highlighted a few areas where we're going to be building in some new recreational attractions and commercial operations that would support tourism. The next goal will be to effectively flesh this modeling work out and have some draft models for review. And then this will be provided to the county as an online dashboard tool that can be used to query individual areas and describe the relative values and opportunities in particular lands. So maybe I'll stop there. Happy to flesh any other conversations out. I mean, a key questions that we're interested in is whether there are other key attractions that make Smoky Lake County an interesting or unique attraction. Are there any other identified constraints that we should be folding into this model? What other factors do you see as being the important ones for land use decisions in this area? And are there any other ways that this can fit into your own work towards managing and promoting the town of Smoky Lake itself through events and other attractions? I'll stop talking there, and if anyone has any initial thoughts.
Thank you.
Sure, and thank you, Leif and Jordan. That was an excellent presentation. So a bit of a vested interest on my part. I sit on the Heritage Board with Noreen. I don't know if I heard the name, the Smoky Lake Regional Heritage Board, as being up for consultation, or just the Victoria District?
Absolutely. We met with Noreen last week, mid last week. Yeah. So
sorry, forgive me, I must have missed that. So it just so happens they're doing a driving tour coming up, and the maps that you've created would be excellent for that. And I'm wondering, would you be able to, could we get a copy of your presentation? It was excellent. I'd like to perhaps just review it when I have a bit more time.
I'd be happy to share that. Yeah. Maybe I'll pass it through Jordan to the rest of the board.
Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you again for your time.
Oh, my pleasure.
So first of all, I just want to say, Jordan, you were the driving force behind this, the ACP grant for this?
Correct. In conjunction with the town and the villages, but yes, the county is the lead on this.
Okay, so first of all, I want to call you out for excellent work, because this is exactly what we needed to do. And I'm aware of something similar that was done in St. Paul, and it's been a game changer for them in attracting businesses, not only from across Canada, but internationally. So thank you very much for this. This is a game changer, and it is part of our strategic plan as the one that we developed with Doug Griffiths. So thank you very much for that. I too, I'm really interested in taking a look at this more in depth. It's kind of hard during a delegation to get into a conversation. We're not supposed to get into a conversation with you. It is a delegation. So is there going to be an opportunity to discuss this in the future? Like this is a delegation. What is the next step for involvement, for town feedback?
Well, I think from our perspective, we're right at the point of trying to make sure we have the right inventory in place, and then we'll be running the initial model results and putting that up on the dashboard for review. So that'll obviously go to Jordan first, but I think the intent would be to share it more broadly with the stakeholders and the organizations that would find themselves using it. And certainly, we'd be looking for any criticism or critique or opportunities that it sparks that we might want to revise or make sure that it are adequately represented. That will, I think, likely be in April, at the point where we're at a point to share it. But I think at that point, maybe I'll let Jordan speak to any of the more detail there, but I think the intent is to have it, broadly criticized so we can make it as good as possible, as accurate as possible.
Yeah, I think what Leif said is accurate, and I do appreciate the kudos from the counselor, and just to remind the council that this was, we just fulfill the work that council has indicated as a priority to them. So I agree with Evelyn that this is a step in the right direction, and it's a very much needed data set and tool that we're going to have. And I'm glad that the councils also recognize the importance of that, and were able to put their support behind it. So we couldn't do it without you, and I guess you couldn't do it without us. So it's a nice relationship. And as Leif said, we want to make sure that we're capturing all of the priorities of the different stakeholders. And then maybe what Leif didn't mention in the presentation that we had briefly covered last week is that this tool is just sort of the impetus for making some changes to our land use policies, whether it be the municipal development plan or the land use bylaw, area structure plans. I know that the town is also working on a highway corridor study right now. There's the trail study that we did that Leif was the lead on for the Wasetna Creek area as well. So all of these documents and studies and tools, they come together, and they play a role in sort of a mosaic of planning. And so this tool is just going to feed in some of that data to some of the other land use policies that we have. So this is maybe not the beginning, but it's also not the end. We're sort of halfway through this, so there's always opportunities for your feedback as well.
Thank you.
No, that's great. I'm good. Well, I think we've got our questions answered and the information provided. So thank you for taking time out of your day to inform us.
My pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having us. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Good day.
Yeah, have a good rest of your afternoon. No?
Can I just request a 5-minute break?
Yes. Well, recess at 2 o'clock.
No, you're right.
Right, we'll call the meeting back to order at 2:06. And we'll move to accept our delegations, 7.2. Ellen?
So I'll make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake accept for information the presentation by Gerald Amarin, Manager, Finance Office of the Capital Region Assessment Services Commission, CRASC.
All in favor? None opposed, carried. And then we'll move to 7.3. Regarding the delegation from Smoky Lake Council. Marianne?
I'd like to move that the town of Smoky Lake accept for information the presentation by the County of Smoky Lake Planning and Development Officer Jordan Rugg and Leif Olson, O2 Planning and Design Incorporated, regarding the stakeholder engagement of the municipal land use suitability tool funded through the 2023-2024 Alberta Community Partnership ACP grant programs intermunicipal collaboration component with Smoky Lake County as the managing partnership, as the managing partner in partnership with the town of Smoky Lake and the villages of Vilna and Wasetna.
All in favor? None opposed, okay.
You don't want to say the acronym NLUST?
It was too late after that.
Okay, and we'll move to 7.8, Ukrainian Twinning Committee. Mel?
Let's go ahead and make these motions, but do we need to make these motions? When we make them at a town, like the town made motions at the joint meetings, we made these motions?
Did we make them though?
Yes,
No, I think we sent it back to this.
we did?
Yeah.
Okay, my mistake, sorry. I thought we just made them there. I will make the first
I
motion.
thought so too. I thought that was the whole point of bringing Carly in doing that. That's not.
The motion wasn't.
The motion was to bring it back to the March 10th meeting.
Yeah. That was the
Okay.
actual motion.
Well, that was silly, so I'll make this motion, the Town of Smoky Lake amend motion 35-2025, the Town of Smoky Lake advise the partners of the Ukrainian Twinning Committee that the town would like to renew the memorandum of understanding with COSIF and continue the Ukrainian Twinning Committee for a period of 2 years to reflect the changes of term renewal to 3 years, not 2. The town of Smoky Lake advised the partners of the Ukrainian 20 committee that the town would like to renew the memorandum of understanding with COSEP and continue the Ukrainian 20 committee for a period of 3 years.
Very confusing. We're basically amending a previously made motion from 2 years to 3.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
With all those words.
All in favor? None opposed, so carried. Evelyn?
I'll make motion 2. I'll move that the town of Smoky Lake approve the funding formula of a 50% town of Smoky Lake and 50% county of Smoky Lake, or Smoky Lake County split for the upcoming revision of the Ukrainian 20 bylaw between the town of Smoky Lake and Smoky Lake.
All in favor? Opposed, so carried.
I'm just gonna add a little discussion to that before, just before we move on. So that's, if I may, so when I asked for the letter in 12.1B to be brought forward, that could impact, so Wasetna has given notice to the committee that they would stay on until September 25th when the MOU expires. So even though we're moving forward with this funding formula, I would assume that they would still be in attendance of the meetings.
Well,
I just assumed that this would be once it's expired. So everything stays the same until it expires. And then, because the funding formula was already there, we didn't ask for any money this year. Almost choked on my gum. And then, then when it expires, then Wasetna will not be on it anymore, and it would then go to 3 years. And the funding formula would be 50-50.
all right. Okay. We'll move to 7.9 victim services units. Dawn?
I just wanted to comment on this one. Thank you to Carly for gathering some information. One, if we want to send this letter, and feel free to tweak it and, give us direction. We weren't really, it was very vague motion, send a letter to lobby for victim services, but we didn't really have a clear direction on what. We should copy this to probably at least Minister Emery, maybe Minister Ellis as well. But we also do have 2 active resolutions underway with Alberta municipalities and RMA. I just wanted to point that out as well. So we attached them so you can see that the province is lobbying for this as well. And then we have this letter if you would like to move forward with sending it out to them. And maybe I did not hear back from the other municipalities, Barhead and Killam. But we could send this to them as well as what I would recommend, copy those 2 municipalities as well. So those were just my recommendations.
So I do see that this is the kind of letter that's CC'd, so it should be CC'd to everybody in the Smoky Lake region, so the 2 villages, the county. Should be CC'd to those 2 communities, Killam and Barhead, and then also to RMA and Alberta municipalities. And sorry, the minister you mentioned as well too.
You want just Emery or Ellis as well? Ellis is safety and emergency.
I'm not sure.
Emery is justice. Probably Emery.
I would
Or
say
both.
I would say both.
Kind of to be related to both.
Yeah.
It's just the motion was to send a letter to the MLA, so that's how it's drafted, but we knew there was more copying and stuff. So that's just, we started with that and thought, let's get some feedback, and you're okay with the content?
So if that's the case, are you suggesting addressing it to Emery and then CCing our MLA?
We can, either way. We
That
can
probably
CC the
sounds-
ministers.
Sorry, that sounds better,
That
more
way-
appropriate.
Well,
yeah.
because, thank you, because I know you put him in as a placeholder.
Yeah.
But given the discussion that we just had, then it should actually go to the minister and then our MLA is CC'd. So thank you.
To Minister Emery
Emery,
and then
this
copy to Ellis and.
I don't know
Yeah.
my ministers off the top of my head. Everybody's
Emery-
nodding, so I'm gonna nod
Emery's
along.
justice. Emery's justice, Ellis is safety and emergency. Policing, so
I can make that motion.
Okay,
I'd like to move that the Town of Smoky Lake Administration send the drafted letter to Minister Ellis and CC Minister Emery and our MLA, Mr. Glenn Van Dyken, in regards for advocating in regards to advocating impact on the open positions for the victim services in Smoky Lake, Killam and Barhead.
Do we want to add county?
Copy
Or
that.
is that just, okay, standard, okay,
We can copy. We'll make
okay,
sure
that's just,
yeah.
okay. All in favor? Anyone opposed or carried? 7.10, Government of Alberta Library Delegations. No?
So, I can make the motion, but I just, maybe a little discussion before we get going. I felt Carrie Anderson was very good at our joint meeting. She did a very good presentation, and I was just wondering if we should rescind the motion, or is there more questions or a different presentation that people would like, or does she have a different presentation? But I got lots of information from her and I felt quite comfortable after her presentation. She did a very nice presentation. And it cleared up both questions for me. So I was thinking of not having her come back and rescind the motion.
Evan? I talked to Carrie in person last week and the point of inviting her to the joint was to talk about intermunicipal libraries. The point of her coming to this meeting is to talk specifically about council responsibilities when it comes to the library. So that is why it is two different presentations.
Well,
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's why I had originally made this motion. I just thought she had touched on it and cleared kind of up what our role is as a council for the library board. Like it cleared up what our responsibility. I just felt that way, but I also am on a library board. So I just wanted to see if everybody else felt the same, or if you think there's more information to be giving, then we should continue to invite her. If not, just seeing what the field there.
yeah, I was happy with the presentation. There's a lot of information there. And I feel that if I had specific questions, I could reach out to her or Jen regarding it. But yeah. Marianne?
From what I'm hearing, thank you. I'm hearing that it was a good presentation. Yes, thank you for doing all that. But I'm hearing that it is a separate presentation from that meeting to this meeting, what we're talking about for our specific library board.
But it is.
In the email, she said it would be substantially the same, but if there's further
Questions.
areas we'd like her to concentrate on, we could ask her to update or further information council would like.
So
That was just what she had said to me, because that's what we,
then Evelyn just said she had talked to her.
yeah, I'm confused because she said it was different, but she emailed that it was the same, so. But we could ask her to make sure it emphasizes more around council responsibilities, and that way it's not the exact same presentation. We just wanted to bring it forward because she said we felt that we weren't 100% clear on exactly why we needed her to come here. We did hear it was a different request, but it wasn't clear, so we reached out to her. And then we thought, let's bring it to council and see what you want to do. Do you want her here or not? And at the end of it.
No.
Yeah, and like Evelyn said, the intention was joint municipalities to talk about intermunicipal libraries. Her presentation just kind of touched on both. It really encapsulated both different types. So, but if she has more to add and we want to get more in depth with it, then we'll invite her. I don't care either way. I just thought that she did touch on it. She did a very good job and cleared up the questions that I had personally. So, but we can. So where do you guys want to go? We want to take no action, or you want to rescind the motion? You want to have her come or not come?
I think there could be value in her presenting. That's what our original discussion was. And thank you to admin for preparing this. I'd be on board to hear what she has to say. And it doesn't, I mean, even if you hear it twice and some of it is similar, I'm okay with that too. I like learning, so.
We just don't need to
We
take
don't
any
need
action.
anything.
And it was by Zoom, so it's not like we're making her travel.
I think they're gonna come in person next week.
And it'll probably be the end of April because March is our audit. So that usually takes quite a bit of time, so we're trying not to put delegations there unless you specifically would like someone there. That's our plan this time. Sorry,
The motion is the 31st.
We,
oh, is the motion the
Yeah.
31st? Okay, so I guess that's the question. Are you okay with having it on that day? Because the audit will be half an hour to an hour usually, I think. One year it was really quick and the next it was longer.
I'd rather move it. No,
yeah, it's not a rush anymore to have it, so if everybody's comfortable, are you comfortable with April? Then we need a motion to,
can we amend the motion or we have not really have to rescind it?
The motion was just, the original motion was just to invite her to a future meeting of council, correct?
No, it
No one
actually
had a
said
date.
March 31st.
Okay.
So you could amend it.
Where do you see that? Oh, under the motion?
Also,
How many delegations are that day?
Just the audit, it's just that the audit is it's a long one, right? So it could be. It's a new auditor as well, so we're thinking half an hour to an hour,
Plus we start at 1.
yeah,
and
but it's up to you.
my impact was for the library, we don't have a library meeting now till May. So I'm okay, if everybody else is okay, just.
can we rescind the motion and then bring it back to later in general?
Or you could just amend the motion to remove
Okay.
the date to have a future council meeting instead of it. Or keep it that day if you are okay, like take no action and we'll invite her that day and. It's just it'll be following the audit.
I would like to make a motion to amend, whatever motion number that is,
-2025.
to change it, to the delegation from March 31st, 2025 to just a future meeting, the next availability.
All in favor? And then close the hearing. All right, 7.111, FCSS regionalization, next steps.
So as you all know, throughout January, we had gone to the different municipalities and February to share the same presentation that we had shared with you in December in regards to FCSS regionalization. And so now I think everyone's just looking at what those next steps look like. There was a motion on the table to bring it to ICC. However, there's been some discussion if joint or ICC is the right approach, so I just wanted to get your guys' feedback on what you guys felt was the best next step.
We do have an active motion still in place to forward it to ICC. We did forward it, but unfortunately the county was without a CAO shortly after that. And then I heard recently that there was no ICC other than fire until fire was done, but we've had housing, so I don't think that's accurate. I keep hearing the comment that the county's not doing anything else with ICC until the fire is done. But I have never heard that till the last couple months, so I'm not sure if that's accurate.
So I heard the same thing. I thought that like ICCs are new, so from what I understand, you can only have one, that's what I was told, but you're saying that's not the case. So the ICC, it could, in theory, be meeting once a week, because we're meeting about fire this week, next week we're meeting about FCSS, the following week we're meeting about bylaw officer, so we could literally have weekly ICC meetings because we're dealing with a different subject in each one.
You could, and you could have different subcommittees as well within ICC, so within the bylaw. It's in the bylaw, it states for one that they're supposed to respond with a meeting within, I think, 30 days, I think, now, please don't quote me on that, there is a timeline, but that they can also form subcommittees, so like the housing one, we created a subcommittee, an ad hoc committee, because it was temporary, that's where you get the ad hoc, right? This could be an ad hoc committee as well, or just a new committee. Right now there's a fire one, but you could actually create one with different members on it for that as well.
What do you mean by different members?
Like the housing doesn't have the same members as ICC, it's an ad hoc committee.
Oh, I
So you
see.
can appoint different members of council onto those subcommittees. But at least to start the conversation, you could start with the ICC meeting to just see if moving forward, or if it's just to start that conversation and what that looks like. With an election coming up, I mean, I know that this isn't happening, unlikely, but before the election, but at least while there's momentum, that conversation maybe.
No.
So your question was, do you want to send it to joint municipalities meeting or to an ICC?
That's a part of the question, because I think it's been brought up that there could be either option, and I knew there was an active motion on the table, but then I was open to suggestions as well, because I'm not quite sure where you guys feel would be better fit.
I'm wondering what the. No.
No, the reason I was asking, because she said joint and I was like,
Oh.
I wouldn't be in favor of sending it to joint municipalities. I do think we should send it to the ICC. Now, I didn't think when you make a motion to do that, you can just say no.
Well, they have to,
That's what I mean, in the
they have to have a
bylaw.
meeting, yes.
Yeah,
But once those discussions happen to find out what are next steps, or
Yeah.
are you creating a subcommittee, or, you know, is this being tabled until after the election, or, you know, the various options around.
What would be the what outcome are we looking for sending it to the ICC, like for everybody to agree right away, like there that it works? That we're gonna move forward with it, like I just, cause sometimes I feel we throw these things at the community in different places, but we don't always get, it comes back. So I'm just wondering, if we bring it there, does that mean everybody would possibly accept the?
I think it'd be unlikely.
Yeah.
I think the idea would be to get on board with future conversations of what could this look like, and what are the next steps to consider. Sorry, Ellen.
ICC is the appropriate committee for it to go to, because it is covered under the framework, correct? That's what it, so that is the appropriate place. What I'm just confused by is because I sit on ICC and I remember discussing FCSS, remember. No,
At ICC.
I thought we had a discussion about this at ICC already, that's why,
Well,
okay,
second-
maybe I'm confusing meetings now. But I thought there was already a motion to, and then because that's why when you came back and you said, now I'm gonna go and present to all the other groups, and you felt that that should have been probably done before the ICC meeting. Because when you had that, it
was
doesn't,
the
anyway,
administrators
it should go to, it really does need to go to ICC. So if you need a motion today for us to add it, then yes, I'm in favor of that.
My recommendation was to forward the motion that's already in place to say, hey, you've got a CAO now, let's get this going and
Yeah.
actually have a meeting with
Is that-
ICC. Well, it went when, after Jean had left, I think, and then I think there was just so much going on. And then when, as administrators, once Kevin started, we talked about it there, and I brought it up there that we have an active motion, and I'd like to make sure that this is looked at, because, you know, and that's when the CAO said, I think it would be better for Rochelle to present to each of our councils first. So then we brought it back, and that's why we went back to that.
Yeah,
step, so.
okay, so.
Madeline?
So I'm gonna make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake forward motion 468-2023 to Smoky Lake County to request that the Intermunicipal Collaboration Committee, ICC, add regional FCSS to the next meeting.
All in favor? 7.12 volunteer appreciation barbecue funding request.
Yes, so this was the volunteer appreciation barbecue event that was tentatively scheduled for May 2nd, and at the last council meeting, it was recommended to take that back to the FCSS board and look at the FCSS budget and see if that was something that we would be able to assist on. And so in looking at the budget, it's not a cost that we would currently be able to absorb into the FCSS budget, but we're definitely able to help from a capacity standpoint and planning perspective. So I guess the wanted to bring it back to see if there would be an appetite to approve the $2,500 and have that facilitated through FCSS.
If I could just add, we did not actually, and we've had this conversation, we didn't actually spend 2,500. Last year, that was our budget, and Rochelle's crew actually went out and got a lot of donations, so that's why I put not to exceed 2,500. Right, because it could very well be lower than that. But we might not get as many we had huge sponsors last year. I think Anderson donated a significant amount of food to that event. As well as some other organizations. They were just I think I would say our main sponsor. So just to point out, it might not be the full amount, but I think to be comfortable with the actual barbecue, not to exceed that amount.
Marianne?
So, and thank you for the background. Couple things. So February 24th meeting, when we had the requisite RFD in front of us, it did not say FCSS on it. So it was the town, and the responsibility then was shifted to FCSS. So I assume that the meeting, that's why we're here today. It concerns me that if FCSS doesn't have the budget capacity, that we need to, as council, we need to review that with our budget meeting coming up, because maybe there's areas that need to be topped up. My other thought on this is that congratulations, you have a New Horizon grant that you just received funding for. That's correct. Yeah. And so that would be for canvassing for volunteers for the snow removal and Meals on Wheels and grass cutting. So if there is any opportunity that could be a launch for the grant, I think the grant would have some money that you could put towards the barbecue, and then the town could maybe go half on half, or.
So what I'm modeling out right now with that is actually to try to maximize the amount of seniors that I'm able to support through that program. And so I'm about to put out an RFP to get bids on who wants to support the Meals on Wheels. But even in looking at trying to, if we try to get meals, which most communities do, try to get them down to $10 as a subsidized amount, and it's like for the span of the grant, right? And then afterwards, I'd have to look for more grant funding. So the more that we try to take out of that, the less seniors we're gonna be able to put into the program. So I think that we're trying to stretch like an already tight budget. As you know, like the FCSS budget isn't large, and I'm doing my best to ensure that I'm getting more additional grant funding. But I, at this point in time, just don't see, like, this was not something that was forecasted in this year's budget. And so I just don't see, and I don't think that trying to use New Horizons to cover this is the right approach.
Nor is it what we applied.
And
Marianne?
It's just, and so it's a no, I'm getting a no. And so it was an idea for when you launch the grant or you have that announcement, so partnering with the town, but I'm still back on where I was February 24th, where our CAO has resigned. I think council should look at this year, maybe not having the event, and it's not only budget impacting, but it's our staff too. If we're asking our admin and public works to do more with less.
Well,
I understand where you're coming from, Marianne, like we want to be conscious of the budget, but we also, this community, a lot of it is run by the backs of volunteers, and it feels kind of hard for me to say that we're not going to do anything for a volunteer appreciation. It was, I don't know, it was highly successful, people appreciate it. I don't want people to feel underappreciated. I'm not sure that a barbecue is gonna make or break whether you volunteer or not, but it's also hard to, how do you recognize people for what they do give back to the community? Yeah, it takes time out of their day and budget, but there are some, I don't know, I feel like it's important. I really do. And if the FCSS can help facilitate it by getting some volunteers to come and help as well, so that the burden isn't so much on admin. And, you know, if you had sponsorship last year, and hopefully we can get some of that and we'd keep it under at a low cost, I think it's an important thing for our community. That's kind of where I am right now.
Marianne?
Okay, so going ahead to make a motion that the town of Smoky Lake provide funding for the volunteer appreciation event on May 2nd, 2025 in the amount not to exceed $2,500 from the 2025 operating budget entitled Promotions to be managed by FCSS for the planning and execution of the event.
You have the change there, Carly? Did you catch the change?
No,
From
sorry.
promotions rather than grants?
From the original RFD, it was promotions, so I'm going back to that.
Okay.
Grants to me implies that that's a an external area or an individual, whereas FCSS is a department of the town. Thanks.
Any further discussion? No. All in favor? And then opposed, so carried. All right, 7.13, Breaking Bread Community Engagement Plans.
All right, so thank you for allowing me to come back and share a little bit more in depth about Breaking Bread. This was an exciting initiative for us. So really what this initiative was about was trying to bring community members together in an engaging way to have discussions about how do we become a more inclusive and welcoming community. And so when you look at the program overview, we held these in January. We had 5 cultural dinners. They were really focused on driving social connection, but also being able to showcase not just the food, but also like some of the cultural stories and diversity that already exists within our community. So we were really using food to kind of act as a tool to bridge us into having a very engaging, constructive conversation with community members. For those of you, I think most of you guys are fairly familiar with the Rural Mental Health Animator Program, but this is a great program that's run across Alberta. And so Zach Halini, Z for short, is one of our FCSS board members, but she took on this role of being a rural mental health animator about 2 years ago now. And this was one of the first initiatives that we had ever actually got funded through the Rural Mental Health Animator Program. So FCSS acts as the backbone, but Zach Halini acts as the lead. And so this was funded for $5,000. And what we did was we separated out those funds to different groups. And we just said, we'll pay for food for up to 20 and the rest will be an honorarium. So however many cooks you have, however much food you need, like we didn't get down to micromanage that. We were just like, here you go. And that worked out really, really well. And so we were able to get 20 people or up to 20 people in every meal. And then this was hosted at Niganon, which added kind of a nice homey feel for it. And it was at max capacity of what that kitchen could hold as well. So we did 2 things before I jump into that, these are the different groups. So we had Métis, Filipino, Ukrainian, South African, and East Indian. So you can see a little picture of the different groups that came to the table. So different community members. And, you know, one of the, I think, kind of surprises to me is even when you're asking community members to do this, go shopping, you know, cook, it's almost like you felt like you were asking them a favor, but really some of the magic was that they were like, thank you so much for having, like, for allowing us this opportunity. Like, it was like they got as much out of it as anybody that was even just participating and actually eating the dinner. So I thought that was a nice surprise. We did 2 different things to capture people's feedback. So we gave a survey at the end of the event, which gave me more demographics and like data. And then we also did like interactive whiteboarding sessions, which was really about fostering kind of those high level insights that we could focus on. So from a data perspective, we were hoping to hit 100 people total. We came in at 91, which we were very, very pleased with. And then you can see from the residency breakdown, we saw a fairly good mix like across the region. The one thing I would highlight is like from Wasetna, the 6 attendees, they used to all be employees at that extended care. So that was something special for them as well. And then we had about a 50-50 split of newcomers and non-newcomers. And I think, you know, from a recommendation standpoint and people saying that it actually helped change their perception about what becoming a welcoming community is, that the results really show that people really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
Can I just ask you?
Oh, Mary. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that was
sorry. So, and thank you, Rochelle, that it's excellent. Just on the participation, so is that something different, like the county and then the county of Smoky Lake and then the Smoky Lake County?
Oh, no, probably just in the Excel file that we mislabeled it.
Oh, so just 18, like.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry about that. That must be
No,
just
no,
labeling.
just.
So then we did that for an hour. So everybody came in, we had meals, everybody visited together, and that was yet another insight was a lot of people talked about how they got to meet new people in the community and that they actually had conversations over those meals that drove connection. So that was another meaningful highlight out of it. And then we moved into a 1 hour facilitated whiteboarding session, where we really focused on 3 key things. And that was kind of, what are we already doing well, like asset-based thinking? What are we already doing well when it comes to being a welcoming community? What are our current barriers and obstacles that we face? And then where can we focus? And what are opportunities that we can double down on? So for what we do well, you know, there are a few key things that probably won't surprise you, but that were highlighted, and some of those are, you know, the Rural Renewal Stream program obviously being accepted into that was a highlight. The library is often viewed as a hub, and so people always recognize that the library is kind of a go-to place. Annual events were brought up several times, which that was insightful for me. I was like, they're like, more events. I was like, great. And then of course, you know, faith-based groups and the support networks, like people brought up, like the food banks and people wanting to volunteer. And then of course, local businesses like the bakery and the farmers market and things like that. Now it's hard to talk about like where you're going to focus before you allow people to talk about the barriers. So we did take the time to hear people's feedback about the barriers that currently exist, and I don't think that any of these will surprise any of you. You know, we are all aware of the housing and childcare shortages, transportation gaps. There was some emphasis again on communication, which it seems to be a reoccurring theme that we hear. And then, of course, youth programming, not having a youth center, that comes up often. And one element that came up a few times that I was, it was kind of newer to me, was like, there's like active adults out there that just don't feel like there's enough outside of like just going to a bar or what have you, like that there's not enough targeting that kind of mid-range of like, hey, if you did more like pickleball for, I don't know, like that mid-range or what have you, that there'd be more people that would actually want to come out. So that was another one that kind of stood out to me. And then we moved into what areas can we focus on? And really what I was trying to steer the conversation when we were having these conversations was, we have recognized that housing and childcare, these are not things that we can solve in the short term. These are things that our municipality is highly focused on, and that they're more strategic and longer term plans. So we're trying to focus on things that are more within our control, that we can really implement and hit the ground running. And so a few of those things that came out was, you know, inclusive language. There's a lot of they versus like us versus them. You know, in some of the feedback is like, people are moving to town and taking all our jobs, you know, like that type of language that happens is like, how do we curb that, and how do we make sure that we have more inclusive language when we're thinking about some of the strategies, even from a growth perspective. Newcomer initiatives, highlighting newcomer stories in the community newsletter, or doing that on Facebook. Of course, we need to get their permission, but just having those opportunities to kind of bring newcomers to life in the community. And then welcome wagon program. More cultural exchange, so more events, more breaking bread. They would have done that every month for the whole year if we could. Potlucks, cultural fairs, things of that nature. Improving communication channels. Again, I think, you know, one of the challenges that we face is we have 45% of our community being seniors, so wanting more print, and then some wanting more Facebook. And so it's just making sure that we're appeasing the demographic spread that we have within the community. And then expanding programming for youth and seniors. And then, yeah, daycare, childcare expansion kind of made the list because that seems to be one that continues to rise. But so what we did with this, so some of these are lower hanging fruit than others. But we also know, again, you know, limited capacity and limited funding. So we went after a few grants that will definitely be able to reinforce our ability to double down and lean into a welcoming strategy. So one of the grants that we applied for, which I can talk about in more depth because the next RFP is about that grant, But it's settlement integration and learning projects grant, SILP grant. And so this would be actually to put somebody in place who's able to focus on being a newcomer facilitator for 2 years in our community. So they could take a lot of the ideas that we just went through and basically create a 2-year plan on how to execute against that. And then the second one was we applied for the rural mental health community grant. And so that would be to host like a Flourish Fest. We don't have to call it that, but that's what we call it. But anyways, and it would be to have like a larger, almost like Breaking Bread, but larger scale. So we could have like dancing and music and food and just like a mini Taste of Edmonton, but Taste of Smoky Lake. And so those were 2 key grants that we applied for. And then the additional opportunities that we were looking at is, you know, from a communication standpoint, the event calendar right now on the website is not like completely adopted by all the clubs and organizations. So we're just working as an administrative team on how do we work with all the clubs and organizations to understand, like, if we adopt this as the one source of truth, then we can also start to teach the community members who do go online that this becomes the source of truth. So then that way, hopefully we could like streamline that. And then when we get into the spring, you know, that billboard that we partnered with the chambers on in the Devonian Park was meant to become like the source of truth for posters and print. So if we can continue to just push 2 pieces, hopefully we will be able to better address some of those recurring themes that we hear around communication gaps. Transportation solutions, it was in my administrative report, but with the support of the Lions Club, we submitted a grant last week to potentially purchase a minivan that's wheelchair outfitted, which would be used more for like medical transportation. So we're still trying with Drive Happiness. That hasn't gone away. We're still seeing some good traction. We just onboarded a new driver last week. But this would be an alternative, more reliable, sustainable, and partnership with the Lions. And then lastly, you guys hear me talk about community social needs assessment all the time. We still haven't found a grant for that, but the rural development team often does this. So they're currently looking at creating a quote for us so that we'd at least have a starting point to start those conversations. And I've also talked to the Alberta Council to ensure that they're looking at what grant opportunities could potentially fit into this. And that is it. So those are like the key insights. I will say, I think overall it was very impactful. Everybody that went there felt that they walked away with something that was very impactful for those that participated, but we couldn't have done it without the different cultural groups really wanting to spend their time and share their love through their food and through their culture. And so we thank all of them for making this happen. And a special, you know, shout out to Zach Alini, who was really the backbone in this. FCSS is the backbone, so I shouldn't use that, but Zach Alini was the driving force. Any questions on any of that?
So as the person who asked you to take it out of your report and then do it in a presentation at the next meeting, thank you very much for doing this, because this deserves a lot more attention than just what you include in your meeting. I know that I was saying this, I said this at the interagency meeting, and I'm going to repeat it again so council hears me say it. And I know it takes a lot of time out of away from you, but I encourage everyone there that they need to go before councils more often. Because you have to, especially because now when you're talking about wanting to regionalize FCSS, encouraging you to go in front of the other councils and sharing it, and also because then they get an idea of what you're doing, but also how it's impacting their residents and why regionalization is needed.
Right.
Because of this, because look at how many of their residents came to this kind of event.
And it's very consistent with the data that we see from other events that we've hosted. Which is why, as much as, you know, people want to get away from survey data, like when you can, to get more engaging ways to measure programs efficiency, But the survey data is very effective when it comes to understanding who's there and what demographics are we serving, and this is a consistent trend that we see, so I totally agree with that. So I don't think it's always obvious when we're doing something in town, how many people from the county or the villages are coming.
Yeah, and then, so another reason why I was interested in you bringing it for council is because is there any wins that we can help with? Like you said that there's low hanging fruit, so you're right, we're on top of housing, we're trying to be, there's all these different things that we're doing, we can't solve all of those issues overnight, but is there any smaller items that we can help with or that we can do that you learned through these whiteboarding sessions?
Well, I think that there probably are, but I guess when I say like low hanging fruit, like to me, like the event calendar is low hanging fruit because we already have functionality. So those are some of the things that I was thinking, or like the community newsletter, like highlighting like newcomers in there, like those are easy ones to implement. So I feel like those are low hanging fruit. There's other ideas like having a welcoming coffee like once a month at the bakery, like where it's just like, are you new to the community? Come and have a coffee with, like almost like RCMP, like coffee with the cop, but doing it for new. But I could see potentially like if council ever had an appetite, like that might be something that council would want to get involved with. The other thing that I think is that when we have this next discussion about this implementation specialist, then I think that would be something that when we work out like a more in-depth plan and saying, here's all the feedback that we've received, here's some of the project plan that we've already outlined and what that would look like, that then it might become more obvious, like here are the things that we can get assistance and support with.
Well,
We can get on to the next one, so I'll make a motion to accept the Breaking Bread for Better Minds Initiative findings. Information.
That mouthful.
all in favor? And opposed, is carried. Okay, and that brings us to number new business. So 8.1 settlement grant, SILP approval to hire full-time staff contingent on grant approval.
Yeah, so this grant, in full transparency, this was something that was completely best practice. So I went to the annual Rural Mental Health Animator conference, which was held at Métis Crossing in October of last year with Z. And it was a lady in Fox Creek, their rural mental health animator, that highlighted that, hey, there's this grant out there, and then we went after it when we got included in the rural renewal stream. And so it was, you know, that's the power of the networking and the conferences and ensuring that we're making sure that we're staying in tune with what's happening in other communities. So it was because of the help from this animator in Fox Creek that I started looking into this grant, and we were able to successfully apply for it on January 15th. I had a meeting with the ministry on Friday to review, and it is looking very positive that we believe that this will get approved. And so really the vision of this staff member, so it would be 2-year staff member full-time, would be that they would focus on less about like helping individuals like do paperwork and stuff like that, and more about helping community capacity building. So as I said, like welcome wagon, community cultural events, breaking bread initiatives, things like that nature. And then also they can work with like key stakeholders. It could be the clubs, it could be the businesses, and helping in like capacity development in regards to how do we do a better job in helping support new staff when they're moving here. And so it's less one-on-one with each newcomer coming in and more about high-level strategic planning and how do we help the businesses do a better job in ensuring that we're helping support newcomers as they're coming in. So there'd be strong partnership with like the chambers of commerce, of course, and then even with the schools, we can also look at how do we work with the schools on some newcomer integration strategies.
It's fully grant funded. So
Yeah,
no
that's the
contribution from the
important
town. It's one of those steps towards that regional concept. The more we can do within FCSS, and then it helps encourage that regional idea that they're investing in this, and then this is all, you know, this is one of the ways we had envisioned growing FCSS, you know, getting funding around a position like this, getting a funding around, we've been talking about since I started, seniors advocate, things like that. So this is that step in the right direction, fully funded, would report directly to Rochelle, would work out of the provincial building with her. She's got space there. And we were very excited that we got this grant. Well, hopefully, touch wood, this close. Sounds very promising.
My question has less to do with to do with this in the sense that the rural renewal stream, I cannot pick up a newspaper for the last 6 months where there's not a report about who's dropping out. I even wrote down a list, but then it grew too long because the federal government has cut funding by 50%. And also the number, and the reason I started writing things down and gave up on it is because every newspaper is reporting a different number, but it's something along 5,000, like, there doesn't seem to be any consistent numbers, but what is consistent is that, like St. Paul, everybody is dropping out of the rural renewal stream. So you need to have that designation for this.
No, you don't, you don't.
Okay,
It's
but
not
it's-
tied to, it's
Okay,
in
then-
support of.
Okay, so you didn't need to be?
No, you didn't need to be, but it was just that a lot of communities that were part of the rural renewal stream were starting to see more more newcomers in immigration. So then they were starting to see more issues around racism and lack of community capacity to help support. So when we were having that conversation, then it was, well, here's an opportunity, here's a grant, but you don't need to be a part of the rural renewal stream
Okay,
to
I
get this
misunderstood that
grant.
too, because it says it's right there in our legislation, it said a designation, so this is why. And then you brought it up yourself too, so you're, okay, so because we're going to be seeing, the feds are not, you know, this is national news that we're gonna slow down. So now when it comes to this position, are you gonna, would it potentially see that slow down? Like, or is that helping the people that are already in place? Like, I mean, this is the reality of the feds cutting funding at a time when you're getting
Right.
this grant for this.
So I mean, probably twofold, like, I mean, it will decrease, but there still will be some. Like even though they're cutting, like I'm sure that we're still gonna see some that are coming through, so I think that, but also I think becoming a welcoming community that is like more than just, it can be newcomers coming from anywhere. Like it could be me when I moved here, it could be you when you moved here, it could be any of us. It's not just about, it's just understanding how do we do a better job. So there's different elements of it, and so some of it is, you know, when I think of cultural sensitivity or diversity and supporting the community that way. Like I didn't realize until I had these meals, and this will be a very specific example, so, but that there were people who were boycotting Betsy's because of staffing. And so that got brought to my attention. So when you think about some of those things that are already existing, that's where I think there's a pillar of this that would be focused on that, but there's also a pillar around, we already have cultural diversity. How do we do a better job of allowing the Filipinos and the East Indians and like all of us that are already in this melting pot to continue to connect and explore and showcase that? And then there's newcomers that are coming from everywhere, whether it be a single mom who's trying to move here, and that's where I think when you think about like the daycare issues and all of that, like those are broader than just like rural renewal streams. So I kind of see it as like different pillars. So there may be, you're right, an impact for what they're doing from a federal perspective, but I still think that there will be enough when we look at overall of community strengthening that it would validate a full, like a position on that. And I also think once you start to like, I had no idea that it would have as many legs as it did, this Breaking Bread, when we launched it. So I think that it's proven that there's an appetite for that. And so I think it would continue to grow as we have somebody in that position start to implement.
Maria?
So, thank you, and this is exciting. I don't want to take away from any of the work that you're doing. So just to confirm for clarification, when you mentioned that it's a full-time position, are you saying that it's a contractor or an employee?
Because of what we've learned in trying to retain contractors has been very, very difficult model. And so with the most recent employee that we did, we went down to like a part-time staff. So then, okay,
No, go ahead, you finish.
I just.
I just might be are you okay with me stepping in? I had a recent law session, they were talking a lot about contract employees, so if you hire somebody for a 2-year contract and you decide halfway through that you don't want that person in the position, there's some legal precedence of them coming after you for that second year because you hired them for 2 years. Whereas if it's an employee in a 2-year term, they're an
Yeah.
employee. So
And
if
that's
you end that
exactly what-
position, there's less legal, there's no, the legal obligation to pay back the remainder of that term is less of a concern. It's why a lot of even CAO positions are getting away from terms and more to employees. So we recently, and that can change in the future, of course, we all know, right? But we recently changed where we weren't hiring contract, like we have a contract custodian, but it's not a end date. It's just a, right? Whereas we've gotten away from contract positions and shifted to employees. Well, to protect the town.
It's a good question, because I'm in favor of this. I think it's great, but I would want the motion to include that it's a fully funded position. And that it doesn't, like what's in the background, the grant would be fully funded position requiring no matching funds from the
Mhm.
municipality added into the recommendation.
And I agree with what you said. Thank you. And just like the recommendation, it says the first line is a full-time staff member. So the only thing is I don't see anything on this request for decision that says FCSS. It just says the town. And then Rochelle told us that they would report to her.
It doesn't need to say FCSS because the FCSS is the town. So it can just say the town. And then it's up to the CAO with the bylaw as to where that position falls, and then the org chart will be updated and be brought back to council. As per current bylaws and policies. So, and that may change with the later, but that's, it doesn't need to say FCS.
It would just have been nice to know that this was what was happening.
Well, that's why, but that's why I verbally gave that update. Rochelle, so that you were really very aware of where it would, and if you want, it could say the town of Smoky Lake approve of hiring one full-time staff member for a 2-year period to work with under FCSS contingent upon, and then fully funded.
I was just gonna say, for some of the grants, like, because I'm only a department of the town, I have to apply as the town. So like, they don't want you to apply as FCSS because they just consider you a department of the town. So this was one of those grants where it was actually applied for under the name of the town of Smoky Lakes, I think.
Evelyn, last question, did you go through our grant writer then for this? Was it the grant
I
writer that
did,
this?
I did,
Okay,
but
so-
we got new, I'm sure you share that
No, I don't know this.
there
We
was, oh, sorry.
It's still Alberta Council, but we got new individuals we're working with. And they're also not charging us a monthly fee for a few months to regain our trust in the process, since a few grants were missed and we were ready to leave. So we're not paying a monthly fee, we're just paying I think it's 0.5% of it. So, yeah, we're successful grants.
But yes, so for this one, when I came into the new year and we had a new grant specialist assigned to our account, so I was pleased to get to work with new representation.
They've applied for a few.
And we've applied for a few now, and so it's been a much smoother process. And this one, what I really appreciate about this one is like you apply January 15th and then you find out that quickly. Like a lot of the times you're waiting 6 months or 9 months before you get any feedback. So it's just nice that this one they move through very quickly through the decision process.
Okay. I think it's Marianne's time to make a motion.
Actually, I think it's Evelyn.
Is it Evelyn? I thought Evelyn made breaking bread. Oh, sorry, I write them up. If you like.
What were you suggesting to add to it? Because I
No
actually,
contributions from the town.
yeah, so I do find this too, we either do one of two things. We either defer the decision until final grant approval, or we do make the motion today but I don't like the recommendation. So.
Can I suggest a combination of what Marianne and I had both said, and that the town of Smoky Lake approve the hiring of one full-time staff member to work under FCSS for a 2-year period contingent upon the approval of the 2024-2025 settlement. That would be fully funding this position, requiring no matching funds from the municipality, with the total grant amount being $211,520. Just add that to the end.
With the words fully funded, don't just kind of cover that.
You don't have to
Fully
put the
funded by-
full amount, yeah, you don't have to put the dollar amount, but just fully funded with no matching grant money from the municipality. But I'm also comfortable making that motion since I just said it. Did you get it?
Do you want me to read it back?
Please.
Okay, that town of Smoky Lake approved the hiring of one full-time member to work under FCSS for a 2-year period contingent upon the approval of the 2024-25 settlement integration and language project SILP grant that would be fully funding this position with no matching funds from the municipality of the town of Smoky Lake.
Could we put in the amount of
Oh,
in there?
where would you like that in the amount?
Right at the end.
And you said member, but it's staff, one full-time staff.
Yes. Staff member.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it's staff member.
Okay.
In the amount of,
211,520.
And if we're all in agreement, just instead of saying under, maybe just in the department, because FCSS is the whole department, right? So how Rochelle chooses to oversee that is.
All in favor?
Yeah.
So we move to 8.2, 2025 election institutionalized voting.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you guys very much.
Just can I start off with a bit of a discussion on this one before the vote or the motion? So, and I appreciate all the work that Carly put into this. And prior to, in 2017, we didn't have the Barbie Nook with the 2 areas. So we had the nursing home. I foresee, just because I did do this, facilitate this 1 year, could we not just combine the 2 Barbie Nook locations and just have it one polling station? And they can bring the people from DSL to vote to the common area, so.
I did have that conversation, and I just thought legality purposes we will have still one institutionalized station, but because they're 2 different living facilities within one location, I just wanted to have it in the motion.
So it's one station identifying
At Barbie Nook.
servicing 2 locations,
Okay.
or one location servicing 2 demographics within. Is
Yes,
that a good wording?
does it make sense?
Yeah.
I just wanted it to be clear in the motion.
No.
Well, yeah, because the addresses are the same. I get clear as mud, yes, clear. But that makes sense, just have one station servicing those 2.
Yeah, and the contact would still be the, whatever her name was, the manager. We can change it, it's fine.
Evelyn?
I know it's semantics, but I did understand that too. I thought, why are we setting up 3 it reads like it's 3 locations, so I'll go ahead and make the motion, but how I'm just gonna slightly edit it is I'll turn the 2 bullet points into 1.
Oh, sure,
Okay, and then,
that makes sense.
thank you. So I'm gonna make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake authorize the returning officer to establish an institutional vote for the 2025 general municipal election on Monday, October 20th, 2025, in accordance with the provisions of the Local Authorities Election Act at the following locations. 1, Smoky Lake Barbie Nook Manor and Barbie Nook Supportive Living at 4504 52 Avenue, Smoky Lake. And 2, George McDougall Smoky Lake Health Care Center Auxiliary Long-Term Care at 4212 55 Avenue, Smoky Lake.
All in favor? Opposed, so carried. 8.3, 2025 municipal election advanced voting station.
I'd like to move that the town of Smoky Lake authorize the returning officer to establish an advance vote for maybe advance voting station for the 2025 general municipal election for the town of Smoky Lake on Saturday, October 18th, 2025, held at the Smoky Lake Town of Smoky Lake Council Chambers located at 56 Sweetland Avenue, Smoky Lake, Alberta, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and administration advertised in accordance with the Local Authorities Election Act, Section 35, subsection 1, notice of election, and in accordance with the town bylaw number 009-2021, public notification advertising bylaw.
All in favor? Oh, I thought it was pretty straightforward, sorry. So you,
No, and that's fine, but I'm saying this, the standard is, when you put the motion on the table, you call for discussion, if there's no discussion. But I'm surprised, so you're saying only one advance rather than two is for the motion? No, I'm not talking to Mary Ann.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking.
No, I'm just reading the record down. So, but you
Yes.
chose it, but you're also the one that chose it.
So, thank you. And yeah, in the past we had to, it does cost money to do this. I don't know what admin thinks that if we should have one or two because it's their time and, if we have it in the budget, sure, we can vote the motion down. I was just going along with the recommendation.
Okay.
all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. 8.4. I know, agenda timelines. I'm assuming this is referring to the email sent from Mary amount.
I'm gonna make motion to town of Smoky Lake defer changes to the procedural bylaw until after. Or never, whatever. No, I didn't till after. An interim CAO is in place, but I do have some discussion.
Yeah, no.
So I know when there is a 400-page agenda, it is so hard to get through it and it's very time consuming. However, my fear is if we make the deadlines farther away, we are going to have a lot more, what is it called? Last minute additions, which therefore I really can't prepare for. And so that's my concern. I think a couple times a year we do have these heavy ones, and I think we just need to try and be mindful of what we're adding as well, things that aren't emergent for admin and for council to just, because it is a 400-page agenda it's deadly. It is a weekend gone. But it is what it is.
So luckily, and thank you, Councillor Morton, we've never had a 400-page agenda. So we've had a couple of times over 300 and maybe it's just me. If you do 100 pages an hour, that's 3 hours. So that's the prep. I think there is some opportunity to be flexible and I don't want to burden admin. So I'm scared to say anything right now, but I think we want to follow the procedural bylaw. There's some good things in it. I'm okay with the motion on the table and I'd support that at this time and leave it for, did you say the interim CAO?
Yeah.
Okay, so And that's the understanding, and I think agenda, admin does their very best to prepare us. Some things are out of their control even, and I totally get it. So when I wrote the email, it was just for that wider discussion of everyone here. Thanks.
Any other discussion? I always save it for Sunday regardless of how long it is. And having more time wouldn't help me.
Thanks. And yeah, sometimes I do work Sunday and I know everybody's in a different place, so thank you.
All in favor? Any opposed or carried? 8.5, water line service request. Water service line request.
So I'm going to speak to this one, and if I don't have enough information for you, I would recommend you defer it to a future meeting. Unfortunately, John is dealing with a different water line service request today that took priority, and he was hoping to make it in at some point to go over this, but he could not. So the resident, Miss Arsenault, you'll see by her letter below, she feels that because she bought a fully serviced lot, it's the town's responsibility to maintain it. Which is not accurate. It was a deal on the lots, and the bylaw clearly states that from the CC to the home, the resident is responsible. John did determine that the water line freezing was not past the CC. For one, there was no other residents that were affected, and also by how they thought out the line, it was definitely on this side of it, from the residents line to the CC that was frozen. He did, I appreciated the work he did do on this property. The one consideration I would say is this is a new line. It was, what was updated was the upright on the line. And then like the part that was exposed, and then, I think it was, down, maybe did that work? But I'd have to double check that. The one consideration is it is a new lot, and she's frustrated, so I get that. So if council wants to consider paying the amount to the plumber who's on site, then that would be up to council's discretion. Our recommendation is it's kind of sets a precedent, but again, it's new property just purchased.
Urban?
Sir, what do you mean by new lot?
She just purchased the lot and moved in, so she's the new resident on site. She just bought the lot from the town. Should there be some expectation that it wouldn't freeze in the first year? I mean, it was 30 below for a week or longer, so I don't think it as much had to do with that as the fact that it was 30 below for a long period of time. It's a mobile home.
Okay, so you said the recommendation is to defer it?
To take no action. Because the bylaw states that from the CC to her property, she's responsible, the homeowners are responsible. But her argument that the town's responsible because she bought a fully serviced lot is not accurate. She bought a fully serviced lot, but then she took over responsibility, and just like any other home, it is now her responsibility as per the bylaw. Or go against the bylaw and make a motion to pay for it. Which you have the authority to do as well.
And thank you for that, Dawn. I do have two questions, let's say. So right at the end, and I would assume John prepared the background for us?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So at the end, he has indicated that they, Public Works, requested that they keep it flowing to prevent another freeze up. So how many dollars how much would have that cost to the homeowner? And I personally do feel that I can make a decision at this time. I like your recommendation to maybe defer it, even if we had some photos or some sort of tools to better suggest what areas of concern are, to make the best decision for both the town and the landowner.
Well, I'm not sure what you're going to see with photos because it was a water line underground that froze, that they placed the heater on top, like I don't know why I'm looking at you, because I knew you'd know, to thaw the line. So I mean, it would be a picture of the property.
The reference to the CC
But that's underground, right? So it was a line frozen underground under the home. of a mobile home, which our mobile homes are at higher risk for freezing because of the nature of the property. And according to our bylaw, we're not responsible. But I do appreciate that the crew was on site for hours and did their best to, and they did remedy the situation. The resident wasn't, again, she's very adamant that it's our responsibility. So it took a bit to even get the heater on site because, yeah. She was resistant to us a little bit because she felt it was our responsibility and she wanted us to accept responsibility. But as per our bylaw, it is not ours. But he did stick around for a couple hours and then he did put the heater down. The plumber did try with some different heating sources to resolve it, but it unfortunately didn't resolve, but John was able to get it thawed out. So, but there's no pictures to be had. It's
Okay.
underground.
I misunderstood.
Yeah.
No. So the only information that I would like, I guess, is yeah, since part of the request is water usage, do we have an average difference of what the water usage is? Probably everybody can guess that I'm probably not gonna be in favor of going against our bylaw. We put it there for a reason. It does set precedents. So I don't like, I'm very sympathetic. I feel very bad. So I would like to see what the cost of like if we can do an average, what the water, just that's the only information I'm kind of missing here in order to make a decision. So I don't mind deferring it to our next meeting. If we could get that
The
provided.
cost of having the water on, if she's left it on.
Yeah,
But yeah,
if she's had to leave it on. So it is an ask, but I don't know what it is, what the cost of that is. Cause there'd be a sewer charge as well. So that,
we could ask that she submit a comparison of her utility bills, or we could bring back, because we held them. So
yeah,
we could bring back the difference and for consideration to pay the difference in her water bills, maybe. Might be one way to look at it.
I would be interested in knowing that for sure. That's what the ask is. Unfortunately, over the years, a few CCs have froze, especially in trailer parks. But yeah, I would like to have that number before I can make a decision.
You want to make a decision on the plumbing bill or just the whole thing?
Like I said, I am not in favor of going against our own bylaw that we have created for a reason. So my motion would be to take no action regarding that, but I would like to see bring back the water comparison, if that was something that was suggested that the town suggested to a resident to do. I would definitely take that into consideration.
Marianne? So I probably won't support that at this time because I'd like to defer it for more information. I would like to ask John or Public Works, how far down are the water lines? Is it that particular one didn't have any insulation or what was his expert advice? And I would like to know if we're telling people to keep the water running, so to prevent a future freeze up, I would like to know how much that's costing the resident. That's not, to me, I'm not a plumber, but I don't think that's the best advice.
I think it was just an option since it had just frozen to keep it flowing while it was really cold. Again, most residents, you wouldn't, well, we have a few in town that we do that on, but most, you wouldn't recommend that. It was just an option that he was provided, they were provided. But we can definitely defer the entire, if that's what the and then John can be here for March 31st meeting to also discuss, and I can ask for the so depth of water lines and then cost of keeping the water on. If that's the motion of council.
Can we have that motion reread, please?
We didn't make a motion.
Well, okay, I thought we did. I thought it was a defer.
No, I
It was
was
actually made a
To
motion.
include that, I thought that's what you were saying.
sorry, I was. Sorry, I was being swayed by Councilor Morton. I just wanted to more information, and based on what CEO Phillips said, I would at this time like to make a motion to defer the water service line request reimbursement to the March 31st regular council meeting with more background information provided by our public works foreman in terms of the named John Robinson.
Manager.
Manager, sorry. Saying cat lips, a manager, sorry, to include the depth of the existing water line and some more background information, and for admin to look up the water usage for that time period.
Want it read back or?
To be honest, I was just gonna redo the recording, because I have to defer the water service line request to a future council meeting. And then I was going to get the appropriate verbiage from the recording.
So let's just, I get it, because there was some back and forth, so let's do defer the, start it again? Defer
Defer the water service line request to a future council meeting, or do you want it on the third?
To the March 31st council meeting. To include details on water line depths and cost of water use. Does that meet your,
Yes, during that period that we're questioning.
during that time?
All in favor? None opposed or carried. Thank you. 8.6, CAO task update.
It's just as requested. It's hard to pinpoint everything that I do in a day. I don't know if you ever heard the terminology invisible work of answering, the hundreds of emails a day, or 100 a day probably, and the staffing and the residents and the phone calls, but I'm trying to just really make sure that, things come up like the solar. I think I might have had that on there, but to make sure that information's passed on. Every time I open an email or receive a phone call, I'm making sure that I'm documenting everything I can. And then we do have 2 more agendas coming up that I'll also help prepare for the 27th and the 31st as well. If there's other things that you think of or that council sees as a priority that you want to make sure that I get completed, feel free to bring it to my attention and I will do everything I can.
Mel? I'll make motion that the town of Smoky Lake accept the CAO update as information.
Comments?
For discussion. Thank you, Dawn, for preparing this. And yes, I totally get it. I just think having something written down, even at this high level, helps just to say, okay, we at least covered it. So then in the last line of the email I sent to you, and not to be combative or anything, so to your knowledge, there's nothing legal that would have any, that information will be transferred to the, we assume, Crystal.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Crystal's in the loop on all my emails to our lawyers. So she's always been kept in the loop anyways, but yes, I've made notes specific for, she'll get all my notes I'm making anyways, and then I'll leave them for the interim / future. And then, but in there, I've gone over a little bit more details, and there's some, like, they're ongoing. The couple, one is the tax recovery and the other one's the resident one. And then there's another one I brought forward, but again, we're not liable, so it shouldn't be an issue that's being dealt with. And, those are the little ones that all notes are big. But I'll make sure that everything is, I have made sure that those notes are there. And again, Crystal's been in the loop the entire time too, so.
And just thank you again, Dawn. So just, I have permission from the mayor so what I want to circle back to in the legal with, everything, the MCC, we're on track. And so Amy would also have that information, that there's nothing that we're not knowing.
All I've done is pass on the legal for MCC. I don't have anything to do with MCC. So everything's been passed on and they pursued further legal advice, so that's completely out of the CEO's hands anyways.
Thank you.
And if you did want any further information on any of the legal, we could go into close and go into that.
You have to accept this?
There is a motion.
Did you say that?
Yeah, I made a motion to accept.
All in favor of the motion? Um, 9.1, policy A-36-2025, organizational chart.
A lot of these are actually within the personnel policy. So we did debate whether to have its own policy or put it within the personnel, but because the motion was to create an org policy, we just went that route. We did find one municipality that we found anyways had a bit more of a basic one, so we kind of based it on that. And our own existing bylaws.
Evelyn?
I looked at the Smoky Lake County and theirs, and they have this exactly. And then it also includes the salary grid. So that's the only edit that I would make to, because we have already passed that salary grid by
Motion
motion.
of salary grid in a public document.
Yes.
I've never seen that before. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because it's only done by position and by salary ranges. So they have the salary grid included in it, because it just gives ranges. It's also because when you post a position, you can give the range. So if you're gonna hire a municipal clerk, you can say what the range is. You're not saying past municipal clerk said this and made this amount of money. You're actually given a range, and then that usually then if somebody applies for that position, they then know not in this range, so I'm not gonna apply for the position. Or, oh, I'm kind of newer to this, so there, if I apply, I'm probably looking at the lower end. Or I'm really experienced, I'm gonna be asking for this much in the range. It also prevents people from applying if they don't like the salary at all. But yeah, the salary, and it's not just Smoky Lake, that county that did it, it's just that theirs is the most simple, where it was exactly this, the organizational chart followed by.
Okay, I was misunderstanding. Okay, so you don't want the entire wage grids in there, you want the levels of each and the wage ranges for each position.
Different positions.
And yeah, we haven't historically placed them in our ads, but a lot of municipalities do, a lot don't. I think more don't, but I always liked that practice for that reason. There are times where people have applied and we've said, okay, the salary range is this, do you want to continue with an interview? Because we are small, right? So sometimes our ranges are a little bit lower for certain positions. So if council supports that, we can definitely put the wage ranges for each position and then.
And then one last point that I actually wanted to add to that is, and this is something that I remember discussing with you when in your first year that you were here. But considering how small our municipalities are, I do think that that the CAO should always come back to council. So it should be included in the policy that you come back through attrition. So that if, for example, somebody resigns their position, that before you post it again, you do come back to council and you do state that this position, and then it gives council an opportunity that they might want to shrink the staff at that time, given what it is. It gives them an opportunity, maybe not to continue adding to the staff. Because natural cuts through attrition kind of idea. So I do believe that the CAO should always come back to council when somebody leaves their position. So it gives council and the CAO an opportunity to discuss it for budgetary reasons. I'm not making that up either. That actually is included in policies. No.
But not in this policy. You want it in this policy?
Yeah, it's a simple thing to add.
I
Or unless you want to, do you want to make, because actually the county of Lamont has it as one simple policy. CAO will come back to council when there's attrition, but we could add it here.
go. I'll go after
I'm thinking it might fit better in the CAO.
CAO bylaw.
Because a policy can't, a bylaw supersedes a policy.
Okay.
So in the bylaw right now, it doesn't say that, so this would contradict that, so I would say bring back the CEO bylaw to make, with that change in it, that any changes go to council prior to posting position.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you want something like that, I was gonna suggest the bylaw as well, not a policy, but. I don't know how I feel about it, but let's deal with this one first and then we'll talk about the bylaw. I don't care, sorry, in the comments about the salary grid, in there, not in there, to me. If you wanna put it in there, I'm okay with that and I can support it. So if you wanna make that motion, I will support it, but it also doesn't bother me not to be in there. We are not a huge municipality, we're not. It's a little bit of a different, and different municipalities do things differently, but I am comfortable with having the ranges. That you can look it up, so it's gonna be on the website, right, and so. But isn't it on the website? Would that be on the website?
No.
Well, then it can be here, sure.
Okay.
I just
so-
talked myself through that, we're just in front of you all, out loud.
Okay, so the motion would include, so one more quick thing, and you swayed me too, so thank you, and luckily, I think the moment is turned, so if you want to frame it that way.
Okay. That town of Smoky Lake nope, sorry. I'm in the wrong. Going back. Town of Smoky Lake adopt policy A-36 2025 organizational chart for the purpose of providing a visual representation of the town of Smoky Lake's organizational and functional departments and include the salary range. Yeah, the salary ranges.
All in favor? Opposed, so carried. Mary Ann?
So, and a huge thank you to Chase. I hope that you did an amazing job. Thank you for doing this. And I hope that that grant goes through and you'll be changing it to add the new position with FCSS. So, thank you.
Yes, he's very well written with his policies
Yeah,
and
it's
his
excellent.
designs, his communications. I find his background is very helpful.
So I'm not sure if you want me to make a motion now to bring back the CAO bylaw to include that, or could I do so, or?
You want to discuss first?
Yeah, just a really
Yeah.
quick discussion, can you not bring it back to March 31st?
No.
Okay,
No.
that's all I wanted to say.
So everyone goes insane?
Yeah.
No. No, so I'd like to move that the town of Smoky Lake bring back the CAO bylaw to include the word, I don't know how to.
Attrition.
Attrition. To a.
Bring back the CEO bylaw to include a requirement for the CEO to bring all open positions to council prior to recruitment.
For the.
Clarifies what, I know what you mean by attrition.
Defer it to the next CAO too.
Do you want to just wait and make the motion once you have someone in place and just make note of it? Or ask for an RFD?
I can just.
It sounds
Make note of it.
complicated. Why don't we just do it to the April 18th meeting or
28th.
28th meeting and move on. I don't wanna make it labor intensive for argument. Would that be okay, Carly?
Sorry, now I'm confused. Bring back the CAO bylaw to
to-
include,
The attrition
to
clause.
include a requirement for.
So you to bring back any open positions to council.
For review.
And again, I don't think it's the CAO bylaw. I've never seen it included in the CAO bylaw, so,
I'm just saying it goes against the CEO bylaw.
It literally goes against the CAO bylaw to give direction to do that, because in the bylaw,
and I
it says they don't
disagree
have
with
to.
it. So this is why I have all of the links to where I have found this information. So maybe the best thing to do is for me just to include it for that meeting, so that you can see what I'm reading, and then we can make that decision.
Can
It's
I-
okay to- Say it's okay to be somewhere else, it's just then you still need to amend the CO bylaw, because you've given the authority to the CAO in there, so you'd have to change their authority, that's all. But it can be somewhere else, but right now it's there, it gives that authority, so I would change it there.
No?
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, is that those other places, their CAO bylaws probably doesn't have that, but ours, it literally contradicts it. So I just thought we could change it once, but if we wanna do a policy and then change it, we can do that too. But that's all. I was saying it was going against our own bylaw. That's all.
Is the motion okay, or?
April 28th.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? None opposed, okay. Okay. Mayor and council reports, 10.1. No?
I'd like to make the motion, the town of Smoky Lake, except for information, the mayor, council, and committee reports items A and B. For information.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Favor? None opposed, carried. 10.2. Councillor Morton report. Who wants to fix up one from my phone? It's a new edition. Okay, so like a late edition, so.
It was handed out, or?
Yep.
You can defer to the next meeting if you want.
No,
Fine.
I think we could just 30 seconds, and I know how the cook's gonna make that motion.
I'll make the motion that town of Smoky Lake accept for information Councillor Morton's report.
All in favor? None opposed, so carried. And we'll move to 11.1. Correspondence requiring action, 2025, Municipal Award for Municipal and Public Library Excellence.
You know, if you wanted to apply for anything or accept information, I think we accepted the information last year. Or no, we gave a motion to apply last year.
Mary Ann,
Yeah, we applied last year, so I'm gonna continue with that ritual, and I move that the town of Smoky Lake complete a submission for the 2025 Ministers Awards for Municipal and Public Library Excellence under the service delivery stream for the development processes implemented in the town before the deadline of March 31st, 2025, in reference to the letter from Minister Rick McIver received on February 19th, 2025.
discussion? All in favor? All in favor? Eleven point two, sponsorship request from Endurance Riders of Alberta. No?
Okay, I would like to, all right. I'd like to make a motion that town of Smoky Lake sponsor the Mighty Moose Miles Endurance Ride for the Endurance Riders of Alberta, ERA, to be held on April 26th, 27th, 2024 in the county of Smoky Lake, with a monetary donation of $200 to be funded from the interim 2025 operating budget entitled Grants to Individuals and Organizations, in reference to the letter from Irene Vanderkloot dated February 27th, 2025, and provide promotional items in the total amount of $100.
Yes,
Sorry, it's supposed to say 2025, not 2024.
Oh.
I think you read.
Oh,
25 though.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, change that to 2025. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? None opposed, carried. And are we still, 11.3 was regarding Setna?
So, I would also like, if I may, sorry. I would like to have this forwarded to the Ukrainian 20 meeting. I know we have a meeting coming up, and as the managing partner, I think it's important to have it there.
Okay. But this next meeting is more of a, it's just the town and county to discuss the new memorandum of agreement, because the other municipalities won't be part of it moving forward. So the idea was we were literally, it was the CEO from the county, myself, the members from the town and the members from the county at that meeting. It's more of that strategic level of, right? So that one isn't a full meeting, it's so maybe the next meeting, or do you want it discussed there by those members present?
Yes, please,
Okay.
because using that word sway, I think maybe there is potential, because we're waiting till September. That with Setna, if we're having some strategic discussions of what the committee could look like moving forward, they may reconsider their withdrawal to the program.
No.
But they're not gonna be there, so if you wanna sway them, you have to move it to a different meeting. Not the one that's happening this
Right.
24th, to a future meeting?
So the people at the meeting could reach out to Setna and say,
Sorry,
as a result
I
of
misunderstood you.
the deadline in September, that you may reconsider. Would that be okay, or? That's just what I'm thinking, like, it might be that, for lack of a better word, an olive branch to say that the committee is moving forward. And
Your motion is
to forward this to the Ukrainian 20 meeting coming up.
All in favor? Not opposed, so carried. And yeah,
The wording on that, can we just say on March 24th? The Ukrainian 20 meeting on March 24th. Otherwise, we're gonna write it to the Ukrainian 20 meeting coming up, and I'm sure you want to have that a little bit. Sorry, I should have caught that before you
Certainly.
voted on it, if that's all right.
Certainly, yes, a friendly amendment.
Thank you, sorry. Should have caught it quicker.
If that's okay with everyone, Carly, good, thank you. Thank you, Dawn.
11.4 is the old 12D. Joint use and municipal agreement, bonding agreement, Alberta Municipal Affairs letter.
Okay. And so this is me again.
Martin. Oh, Mary, I thought you were speaking.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
I just wanted to have that permission, so
Sorry.
just, so when I looked at the letter and it says to elected officials, and this is from a place of, my intention is to be very kind and just for better communication. Last meeting, it was on the agenda, I studied the JUPA and then only to realize it was something different, but similar, but extended. So with our CAO resignation and the tasks that we're imposing upon admin, just to have better communication. So if there is emails, please send them. So that Sunday night is not when we're studying the agenda, that we all have this information forward. And it came February 13th. We could have had it at the last meeting, but February 24th. So I don't have a motion. I just want to accept it for information, but so that we, myself, can all do better at communication.
Forwarding that, I have no issues with that, but just for clarity, what happened was it came at 3 o'clock on the 13th. And I was in the pre-budget meeting, then the budget meeting, and then I went on holidays.
Yeah.
So that's why, and as I did explain it at the last meeting that I did receive it, and the letter had come and that it was gonna be provided at the future meeting, and that's why it wasn't on the agenda. So I did update council on the fact that the JUP had been delayed by a year. But I did not have the letter there, and I could have brought it as a late edition, so you had it with that agenda item. I definitely could have done that. So I apologize. It just, at the time, I was back from holiday Sunday afternoon and the meeting was Monday and I saw it Sunday night, or I glanced at it while I was on holidays, sorry.
And
Just so you have the background there.
okay, I was so not even thinking of you, Dawn, because it said elected officials, because I wasn't saying it was from the admin. I thought it was just,
Yeah, normally it goes to the CAO and the CEO, and then we place it on the agenda. But it should have been on a quicker agenda, it
Okay.
just happened to hit my holidays, that's all.
and it
That's why I
just
didn't have it.
happens to be one of my committees, so I felt like I didn't know anything about it. So thank you
So
for
sorry.
that clarification. No apology.
Evelyn? It's also that emails are forwarded to care of the mayor, and the mayor then disperses those emails to the rest of council. They don't have all of us listed, but the reason why they list the mayor is because the expectation is that the mayor should the rest of council. So I think that that's part of it as well.
No?
So you, sorry, motion filed for information?
All in favor? No, opposed, or carried. So we'll now move to 12.1, to include the last or the other correspondence. A, C, and E. Mayor Mel?
Make a motion to file for information, the correspondence A, C, and E.
All in favor? And then opposed, so carried. Right, last minute additions, 13.1. I have written minister appointments, I think it was.
So is there a handout for that one or?
Yes.
I haven't that up much.
Oh, right here.
Oh,
From the Minister of Municipal Affairs.
I'm the worst person to give paper to because now I'm.
And I just wanted to add this because I missed it on the agenda, and with the Juco conversation, I thought I'd make sure you received this regarding the provincial priorities, so. It basically states that the province wants to know about federal agreements moving forward. Exclusions under 100,000, but we still need to notify them. Considering kind contribution, that only are exemptions. Disaster response. They won't need approval, just notification. Just FYI.
The motion would be just to accept for information.
Yes.
Mary Ann?
I'd like to move to accept for information the letter from Minister Rick McIver
Regarding provincial.
regarding provincial library
Priorities.
priorities, sorry, Provincial Priorities Act. Thank you.
All in favor? No, opposed, so carried. And then 13.2 banner, town, or moving to town Smoky banner with the Travel Lakeland.
Yes, so this, so like I said, we, from Michelle Wright, we accepted for information the offer to attend the Edmonton Bow and Sportsman Show. But this is a separate proposal, but it's from Michelle Wright, but on behalf of Travel Lakeland, it was sent from there, and and this is I'll read it, I didn't copy it, just the thought, we can offer the town a banner placement at the show for $300. I would take your banner and have any information at the Lakeland booth to share. I'm not sure what we have for resources at this point, but just bringing it forward.
No?
You probably don't have an answer for me, so that would be a $300 and they take a town, Smoky Lake banner. Are they taking a pumpkin fair banner?
I'm not sure.
Well, that is my question. It's like,
Yeah.
like it is a Travel Lakeland booth, so is there other people participating in it? Not that you know.
Didn't say.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't really think you'd have that answer.
No.
That's fair, yeah.
Mary Ann?
I think it's a wonderful idea. I don't know that we have a banner. We have an old Alberta Hub banner, and then we had the banner that we used for the parade
Parade.
for our birthday. So although it's a wonderful idea, I might suggest at this late date, probably not. But keep us in mind for future trade shows.
No. Yeah, my suggestion is the same. We're unprepared and that's why we weren't participating. We don't have stuff to take, right? So I think we have a picture of Derek somewhere.
Yeah.
That might
On
be
the
it. So, yeah, at this time, we're just not, my motion would be to file for information and send her email back saying thank you for the offer and in the future we'll reconsider.
All right. Okay. All in favor? No opposed, so carried.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
may I also make another motion? If admin could, in the email, include a list of upcoming trade shows so that we are more ready.
We have a motion from the joint municipalities, the joint town and council one related to that matter. We had a discussion there about
Creating a list to work
Yes,
together.
so-
More.
Yeah.
So that will be
Yeah.
coming, forthcoming, or?
I don't know the exact, no, I could look it up, but there is an active motion regarding that exact, yes,
Just so we're always in front of it as opposed to behind.
yes.
Thank you.
13.3, naming trail.
So, we did do the contest, the naming contest, and the names that came forward, sorry, were the winning one for the public contest was Lover's Lane with 41 votes. The second one was White Earth Wander with 30 votes, and Sandstone Meadows got 19 votes. Now, yes.
Well, I'm happy.
So where we last left off is the town will name it or and forward the information to or do we need an RFD or something or I should have waited till March 31st. It's just Noreen had asked.
Yeah, I
and
know.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I was just
Let's take a 5-minute break while she's looking that up.
right now. Okay. I
Yeah.
was thinking for close, but okay, yeah, we can take a 5-minute recess.
You better start building more.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll
Ignore my message.
back to order at 4.
Sorry.
No, that's okay, 4 o'clock. All right, naming the trail.
Right, the motion was that the town of Smoky Lake reach out to the Smoky Lake Heritage Board to come up with 3 naming options to be put out to the public for input for the naming of the nature trail. And it's got the location on there. So my recommendation would be that the town forward the survey results to the Heritage Board for consideration.
I would like to make that motion
To move the names to the Heritage Board.
to let them know the
Survey
results of
results.
The
the
results.
survey results to the Heritage Board for their consideration.
Okay, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
Good
And choose the
motion.
one I want.
Okay. Any other discussion about that? Everybody's okay with that? All in favor? None opposed, so carried. And update with 51st Street.
I have been trying to keep you all up to date via social or via email as the weekend went on. So yes, we did have a water leak Friday. Don reached out to 6 different companies. We couldn't find anyone to come in and work with us. He did continue looking over the weekend, as well as monitoring the leak and worked with the county on that. The water reservoir did drop a little bit over the weekend, so then the county did increase our flow temporarily. The hesitation on, there was consideration of, do we need to shut down water overnight? That would create probably a boil advisory, so we didn't want to go that route unless we needed to. So it managed to keep up. So he did get hold of a company eventually that was willing to come in on Sunday and assess and Monday to mobilize. So that's why John's not here. They're on site now. He says they've exposed, this was 15 minutes ago, they exposed the leak. It is a circumferential fracture of the cast iron main. They're reducing pressure in the line to make repairs. A couple of valves are not working. So the affected area is larger than expected. He says in there, I got chased to make the falling post, and here I was panicking. So we're asking that or advising residents that we will have reduced water pressure from 4 to 7 in order to repair the water leaks. We'll just reduce flow. 51st south of 46th Ave, 52nd Street south of 44th Ave, 50th Street south of 44th Ave, south of 4 we stop along Highway 855. Pressure will be reduced starting at 4 p.m. and expected to return at 7. And he will provide further updates. Residents can fill up containers at the fire hall if needed. Call the after hours number if no one's there. And yeah, that was in the social media. So we've advised residents, and we've been keeping them up to date on the ones on the street that are affected personally, going around door to door. So we're on it. Sounds like it should be fixed today. It is one of our, we don't have a lot of cast iron lines left from what I'm understanding. So we should see where this one is on the priority list, and do it before we do.
Mel?
We have a motion for that, to bring this one to the capital budget meeting already because of the other leaks, so. Seems like it's, we have jinxed ourselves, it seems like actually, so. Well, but thank you for that.
Gas leak and which isn't really leaking any longer. They're supposed to be doing that. Well, not today now, so hopefully tomorrow, getting on the gas. So that's the other one, the gas break or the gas leak is not a leak any longer. Or if it is, it's very, very tiny, but it's still dug up. They exposed it further. They got parts. They've got a plan A, B, and C. They were going to start today, but now the plan, I'm assuming, will be to start tomorrow to get that finished up as well. It was a really weird connection on that gas line. So the tool that you use to get rid of, to eliminate the leak didn't quite work. So there was a lot of working around with it. So. But we were seeing some gas come through when there was water there. So they excavated further, did some more work to make sure it was cleared and that any gas leaking was going to the environment to make sure it was safe. But it's down to very, very low. But we're gonna finish that as well.
Marianne?
So then in terms of safety to the any of the residents, there's no risk to the town that if someone is smoking a cigarette or?
Well, and we've got it cordoned off. It's very, very minor and exposed to the environment, so it's very minimal risk.
No risk, right?
I can never say no because someone goes in the hole and lights a match, there's a risk. But it's considered to be extremely low risk, the way that we have it exposed and removing the water, like removing anything that confines it in a space or keeps it trapped underground. So trying to make sure that it has that access.
No.
And it's not just barricades around it, it's actually fenced off.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So my other question is, with the residents for access, would we be helping the situation by closing that street?
It is closed.
Right off, because yesterday, I went there yesterday and it was just barricaded, but it wasn't a
Well,
road closed.
No, and I mean, usually when we close a road, unless we have to, we wouldn't close it to the local access. But just not close it to the public.
Yeah, as of right now, though, right from the intersection to past the gas leak is barricaded off.
And the water, okay, so my concern is safety, that there's nothing that something's gonna happen and then the town is in a position of being liable for unsafe.
We've done a good job.
We've done what we can to minimize this.
No?
I'll make a motion to accept the update on 51st Street for information, the verbal update by the CAO.
Okay, so we can move on to closed session. So you can't go.
Dude.
All
Have a
right,
great day.
thank you too. So yeah, if I can get a motion of going to close with all the.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Do you want to read the beautiful 14.1, 3, and 4?
No, we're going to the one.
Oh, yeah, one at a time, never mind.
Okay.
14.1.
So I move that town of Smoky Lake move into closed session to discuss go into closed session to discuss the following matter pursuant. Okay, land sale dash lot 14, block A, plan 1E21 HW. I'll make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake go into closed session to discuss the following matter pursuant to the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, Section 16, disclosure harmful to business interests of a third party at 4:08 p.m.
All in favor? It is so carried. Bye.
Yeah, let's do it again. Oh, well, I'm hearing that.
All right, I'll get a motion to come out of closed.
I'll make that motion.
All right, all in favor? All right, Mary Ann will make the motion.
I move that the town of Smoky Lake proceed with the disposal of lot 14, block 8, plan 1821 HW to Mr. Igor Kozoholadnik in the amount of $15,000.
All in favor? None opposed, so carried, and I'll get a motion to go back into closed session. 14.2 land sale lot R-2 block 12 plan 4117 TR. And then you can make the motion.
For what we're going in.
Oh, yeah, for going into closed session at the town.
I'll make the motion that we go into closed session to discuss the following matter pursuant to the Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act, FOIP, Section 16, disclosure harmful to business interests of third party at 4:15 p.m.
None opposed. I saw your hand for favor, right? Favor? None opposed, so carried. Come out of. Mary Ann,
I'd like to move to come out of closed session at 4:17 p.m.
all in favor? None opposed, so carried. And then Mel, you'll make the motion.
Make the motion, Town of Smoky Lake proceed with the disposal of lot R-2, block 12, plan 4117 TR to Josh Drama in the amount of $2,500.
All in favor? None opposed, so carried. And then we'll get a motion to back into close for 14.3, state their contract. And if I can have someone read the, Evan?
So I'll make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake go into closed session to discuss the following matter pursuant to the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, FOIP, Section 16, disclosure harmful to business interests of a third party at 4:18 p.m.
All in favor? None opposed, so carried. Mel, you want to make the motion to come out of closed?
Yep.
All in favor? None opposed, so carried, and then, motion, someone can motion. Mel,
I'll make a motion to execute the funding agreement between Aspen View Town and County regarding the daycare and small gym.
all in
Or
favor?
not small gym, the gymnasium. Don't go there.
Oh, no. All in favor? None opposed, so carried. Oh, my God.
Can of worms.
14.4, personnel staff. Motion to go into closed for, Evelyn?
The Town of Smoky Lake go into closed session to discuss the following matter pursuant to the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, FOIP, Section 17, disclosure harmful to personal privacy at 4:27 p.m.
All in favor?
Would you like, Carly will leave for this one?
I'll get a motion to come out of closed session.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Not opposed, and who would like to make some motion? Mel,
I'll make a motion to accept for information the personnel update.
all in favor? Opposed, carried. And last but not least, 14.5 CAO recruitment. Evelyn?
I'll make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake go into closed session to discuss the following matter pursuant to the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, FOIP, Section 16, disclosure harmful to business interests of a third party at 4:38 p.m.
All in favor? Not opposed, carried. I'll have a motion to come out of closed session.
I move to come out of closed session at 5:43 p.m.
All in favor? None opposed, and Evelyn, you wanna read the motion?
I'll make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake Council contact Angela Duncan of Municipal Rising Tides for consult regarding contract CAO.
All in favor? None opposed, so carried. Meeting adjourned at 5:44.
So